1, 2, check Chuffy 1, 2. We should all be rolling. 10, T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 4, 1. Blast off. Hi, you're with Scott. I'm Ganji Kid, Grave Kipper. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear around your left ear. I'm now streaming. I've not really got loads. I'm a bit late today. Half an hour late to stream. Oh, that's my own fault. I feel a bit bunged up. The weather's a bit rubbish. Got a bit of a... Need to change this contact lens. Got a bit of a gucky eye. It's all happening for me today. What's happening for me today as well is I got up and, as you do, you think, oh, I'm supposed to be doing a stream today, but I haven't really... was doing this other stuff yesterday and I haven't really prepared anything. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, I thought we'd do space then, because I got a little cheeky comment. Lol, some of those are clearly fake. I don't know what they're talking about. I have to click on it and look at it to see what they're talking about. They're talking about this. Someone's put a comment on History is a Lie, the video we did. Welcome to the shit room. Someone's put a comment. Can I not transform my little face here? Camera, let's transform my face. Transform my face. Edit, transform by the horizon. Flip the horizon. There we are. Someone's put a little comment. Oh, hello, Squirrel Sniper. Hello, Rian. Right, I'm going to move the chat so it can all be seen better. Why can't you be seen? Hang on. Need you to be seen. There you go. That's better. That's more like it. The only space is the distance between you and me. Well, we'll find out. We'll have a look. We'll find out. Hey, team. How is everyone? We're all good in the hood. Hello, historian. Someone sent me this comment. Like, I did a video called History is a Lie, and that video is analysing the work of John Levi, I think it was him, or it might have been Cam or anyone, Autodactic, some of them. Anyway, someone's put there's no photos from space. And I've replied to that myself with, well, like, I put a little link to the photos from space, because they said there are none, and I've put a link to them. And someone's answered me, they've replied to me. Now, bear in mind, I don't really talk to people in comments. I love it if you leave comments. I look through them. I make a list of the things we should look at on stream. Oh, absolutely. But I can't spend my days reading through and answering comments, can I? I haven't got enough time in the day. There's not enough hours in the day. Today, I've ordered a dry herb vaporizer, so I don't have to smoke this stuff anymore. I've ordered a vaporizer, so I don't have to smoke this stuff. Anyway, like, you know, I've got things to be doing. Can't be finding out if space is real for you. Well, anyway, I put the link to the pictures, and they've said, Clarence here has said, Clarence, hello Clarence, they've said Ganji Kid, at Ganji Kids. That's at me, that's like to me. So it comes up, it's not just one of those that goes past, it comes up. At Ganji, at me. Some of those, lol, some of those are clearly fake. Okay. Come on, bro. The one with the sun behind the ball looks like desktop wallpaper. Right, now I didn't look at them big style, so I don't know which one they're talking about, but I will tell you that if one of the NASA pictures looks like a desktop wallpaper, my guess, not everyone's guess, but my guess, is that that's because they use, like, they send them out and people use them as desktop wallpapers, and that people use pictures of space as desktop wallpapers because they're particularly impressive and detailed, and they look good on your desktop wallpaper. Ooh, that's a nice picture. I think that's what it is. I don't think people are coming up with fake desktop wallpaper pictures and then saying they look nice. Why don't we send them on to NASA and they might use them for their space images? I don't think that's the case, but, you know, open-minded here. So I'm going to come with an open mind and see what Clarence is going on about. So this is the page. These are the pictures. And hello, Drinkwater. How are you doing? Uncontrolled historians confusing the chuff out of me now. Upfront and honest, I'm a globe denier. David Hyatt did statement analysis on Neil Armstrong. I'll have a look at that. I will. I'll put that in my list of things to look at. I thought you were anti-Tartari. I thought you were pro-history. I'm confused now if you are on both sides of the fence there. That confuses me, but, you know, I've only just got to get it in my head. It's not like I can't work it out. Notepad. I can't work it out right now while I'm doing Notepad. File. Open, and we've got one called, where have I saved that? Stream. Stream something, stream, I don't know where I've saved it now. New computer, you see, I'm on a new computer, so I just put it in this new notepad file there. Right, that's in a notepad file, we'll look at that at some point. What we're actually, you're a globe denier and a historian. So you think the Tartaria history is a load of rubbish, but you think we are on a flat earth. I didn't know that. I assumed when you said, oh, the Tartarians don't like me, because I don't believe in Tartaria, I assumed that included all the other stuff as well. Right, so the principle will be then, is that these photos are fake, yeah? I'm going to look through a few different bits and pieces with us today, so we can all make our own decisions. I don't care what you think, really. It's up to you. Armstrong's speech was very cryptic. Okay, we'll have a look at that in a bit. I mean, I haven't prepared it, so I don't know what it is, so I'm not prepared for that, but let's see the things I've got prepared anyway first. These are just photos on the NASA website. So this is Cygnus Space Freighter in the grips of the... This is like a robotic arm on the space. That looks fairly spacey to me, doesn't it? I mean, it looks really bright where the sun is like unimpeded. Really bright. And then that looks like space business. Behind it, you've got the clouds really high up. I mean, I don't know why that looks fake. That's a fella in the space station. I don't know what it is about these that screams fake. Just look like photographs to me. Her hair's floating around like it should be. Like, maybe you can tell me, it looks very cut and paste and CGI. Well, here's a point to make then. Like, the problem we've got with that is CGI, we can't talk. You're thrown out of the truth community for questioning their evidence. That's weird, because you have to question the narrative. That's the whole point. You'd think you'd be, you know, praised and lauded for questioning the narrative, even if it's the narrative they pose, because it's a question. That's the whole point. Anyway, look. In terms of CGI, you know that all our pictures are CGI these days, yeah? Like, CGI means computer-generated image. Or it might mean global Canadian company. I don't think it means global Canadian company, does it? Computer-generated imagery. The computer graphics make the image, yeah? That's what it is. We're down with that. I'm going to move my face to the other side because I'm on the wrong side. I'm on the wrong side of the bar, but in the head she's a ghost who floats down to the coachman. On blood he feeds his guitar, so it will sing again of rubies and the lighthouse out. In the waves she drifts, I'm sinking deep, I reach for her feet. Right, this is CGI, yeah? I'm going to accept what you said there. Yes, CGI. Images are CGI. Computer-generated images, yes. The problem with this, though, is that, like, the cameras... these days are digital cameras. So they're, like, using these sensors. Like, I know a little bit about cameras. They're using these sensors, aren't they? So you got, like, a big sensor in the middle of the camera. So from the minute it goes into the camera, the image is digital. There's no analog anymore. We're not taking film and... I mean, I have used camera film in my time. I'm that old. You know, we're not doing that anymore, are we? So... like, that is... like, everything that you see, like, this picture you're looking at now is probably computer generated. I mean, it is computer generated because whether it was taken on a film or not, whether it was taken with an analog camera or not, we're looking at it on a web page. So that web page is digitally creating it from pixels. It's not an analog image, it's a digital image. Everything you look at on your phone, everything you look at on the television is digitally created, digitally recreated. I did a big, I mean, I'm really patronising and condescending sometimes, I am. But I'm battery exhausted. And I apologise for sounding so condescending sometimes. But I've done a video here on battery exhausted, which I need to sort out that channel and tidy it up. But called Digital Art. And I do sound a bit condescending when I read this one out, because I'm reading it from the perspective of someone who's had a bit of a discussion with some older artists who don't believe in digital art. So in this video I'm discussing digital art and the object. It's over an hour long, there are no images. It's ironic. But what I talk about in this video is that That's not music, is it? I can't... Can you hear that? Is that music? That's not music, is it? I can't... Can you hear that? Is that music? I think the neighbour's using the tools. That's digital art. So what I discussed in that episode is how the computer creates the images through the pixels and the data and, you know, where the art exists and what the art is. The art really is an instruction. Like if I draw a picture of a whatever, right, let's have a digital art picture. They all are. And if I draw a picture of a whatever on the computer, just going to take the first one that comes up, then I'm telling the computer with my mouse, you know, move over here, colour this in blue, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm like instructing the computer how to do it with the mouse, or the pen, or the whatever. And what the computer's recording isn't this is blue, this is yellow, well done you, that's a nice blend. What the computer's literally recording is pixel here equals this, pixel here equals this, pixel here equals this. Like, that's all it's recording, isn't it? And the way it's recording it is ones and zeros digitally. 1100 1111 1111 and if you broke into the file and you got all the data out, like you can't even, like, it's recorded as a those ones and zeros are recorded as a kind of on or off state, positive or negative state inside a transistor. Like, I think that's the basics of it. So we see it as this, but the computer sees it as just information, doesn't it? I'm using chroma key right now. Yeah, I am. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me get one thing out at a time, so this is digital imaging. But so is what you watch on your telly, everything. Because the computer's not saying, right, that one's been painted, but the other one's been created with a photograph. And no, it's all digital images these days. It's all recreated, however it was recorded, however it was captured. And most of the time it's captured digitally as well. So saying it's CGI, I just want to clear that point first, is that yes, it is. But then so is what you're watching now. I'm CGI to you, computer-generated images. I'm not generated exclusively by the computer, I suppose. I suppose I am originally here and recorded, so there is a difference there. Computer-generated needs no other input than the computer. But, like, everything's got to go through the computer. It doesn't have to. We could still use film and you could only see these pictures physically. That would be the only way to do it, is to see these, like, you'd have to, got relaxing space music on, it's a bit loud for me, turn it down a bit. You'd have to, you know, all pictures you ever see, and bear in mind, you've got to, because you're saying, like, you know, you're saying that these pictures aren't allowed, every picture's not allowed. I watched the Grand Prix this weekend, that's not allowed, that's all CGI, that's made up. Like, like, my only access to the Grand Prix is through, like, video and imagery, and I could go there and watch it. That's an option. But really, like, my only access to the Grand Prix is just, after all these chuffing adverts, 3, 2, 1, doesn't really matter about what video I'm showing you anyway, does it? Is that this, to me, is just a CGI, isn't it? How is that not CGI? How do I know that's not... Why is space so different? Why is space, like, unreal to you and this is so real? I mean, obviously you can go there and have a look at it. Well, you can go and have a look at space, it's just a little more difficult. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's more people there verifying this for you, so maybe you believe in this. But I wasn't there, I didn't see it, I only saw it on the telly. Everything on the telly is digital. The telly is digital, the cameras are digital, it's all computer generated as far as I'm concerned. Or it all goes through a computer and comes out of a computer at the other end. And I know that the, like, F1 computer game sim 2022. I know the computer sim looks pretty real. You know, I'm pretty aware that this, like, to the untrained eye, I know it's obviously a computer game, yeah, but, like, it looks pretty real, doesn't it? Like, it's pretty close. How far does it need to be? This is for your home computer. Maybe they've got a better one for the big computers that do the fakery. I don't know. It's pretty close. I mean, what am I supposed to believe? Well, I just believe that it's real. You know, I just believe it's real. I don't see why we'd want to fake it, but let me just scroll back to see if I've been missing stuff then. Right. I need to look at the live footage. Okay, we will look at some live footage. Armstrong didn't reply to the questions. We'll have to look at Armstrong's interview specifically. Augmented animation, yeah, completely faked with models and Photoshop. Okay. She said monkey buttocks, lovely and binary. And you're chatting. Okay. So I've covered one aspect. I just want to go through some of these pictures and just have a look at them, because this is what we're accused of. Because I said these are real. This is the NASA, and someone said no, this is a bollocks. It's fake. I mean, I don't see. There's nothing standing out to me here as saying definitely fake. You say you think it looks cut and paste Photoshop, but I think one of the problems we have here is we're not used to seeing things in space. And when things are cut and paste Photoshop, the reason they look cut and paste Photoshop so much is because you're taking two different, like one lighting setup and a different lighting setup and cramming them together so they don't look like quite right, and your brain says that's not quite right, hang on, what? And you don't know it's because the shadow and the lighting, but your brain says it. Or the DPI, the pixels per inch of the background, is different from the pixels per inch of the thing you're moving on top of it. I can get that. Here we've got no stars in the background because in space you don't have the same visual quality of the sun reflecting off things from your position on Earth. So it looks a bit more like a background and a really bright thing stuck on it. And that's the nature of space and the way the sun works, so it could be one or the other. There are people in space, that's the Earth and a space thing. I mean, another question would be, if you want to fake space photos, why this? Why don't you do it better? Why something slightly abstract? I mean, I don't know. So we said we had to look at some video, right? So this is one I want to watch. I want to watch some video. We'll have a look at some video. And I will try and then look at... I will then try and look at the Neil Armstrong interview. I had no idea about it, but I'll try and look at it. But first of all, this is how to not to land an orbital rocket. This is where I want to start with this. I haven't got a big thing lined up. I haven't been doing loads of research, but this is where I want to start with this. How to not land an orbital rocket booster. Turn the music down in case it's copyright. I mean, these are things blowing up. Now we could say this is CGI, but it's a bit different now because we've got people in the shot. They're moving, they're interacting with the items sometimes. That's the shot from the actual rocket in space. Run out of hydraulic fluid. Look at it crashing down and blowing up. That's footage from the actual landing pad. This is what's been going on while Elon Musk has been trying to get rockets into space, look. They don't always work. Uh-oh, that looks like a problem. Ooh. Good job there's no one on it. So my question is, if space is fake and we're faking these videos, who's faking these videos and why? Are we saying Elon Musk's company, he's put a company together deliberately to fake these videos? And why wouldn't you just fake it being successful? Why is it fake that they don't make real rockets, they just go up and then back down to the sea? They don't show them the falling, they just switch to CGI. Okay, we'll look at that in a minute, but let's just finish this because it is quite a funny video. Very much, the thing I find so funny about this is billions and billions and billions of pounds spent. No one can argue that that's not the case. Billions of pounds have been spent. And it all goes up in flames when it blows up every fucking time. Eventually they do get it right though, don't they? And one of the things they get right, is, I was saying this for a long time, is why are you trying to land it on a big solid platform? Why don't you just catch it in a big net? Because that would be easier. But they did eventually start using catching. Look at this. That's it landing. Could just be in reverse. Could be takeoff in reverse, couldn't it? Well, no, because of the way the smoke works. So, no, it can't be in reverse. So that's a video of things taking off and not being successful. Talking of things flying in the sky and landing then, we've got SpaceX. So, like, we don't have images of things coming down from space, you said, but we do. We actually do. We've got live video, and what they're following is something coming down from space. This is AX-1's mission return. And they literally keep the camera on the thing while it's in space, all the way down. Obviously we cut to do different camera shots, but, you know, it's still the thing in the sky, isn't it? And this is it, just as it falls all the way from space down to the Earth. So there is a video of that. We've got that. You can argue it, whether you believe in it or not, I suppose. It's in 4K, so it's at the highest possible resolution we can get. It's still not very good resolution because they're filming from such a distance that they've zoomed in a lot. But there it is, that's the thing they fish out of the sea. There they are, fishing it out of the sea. We could argue about the validity of these images as well. These days you can create quite good CGI, but, you know, there's that. It's not just that, though. It's that SpaceX, and they're not NASA. Remember, we're talking about a different company, like a competitor. So they've got shitloads of these videos. They stream them live. And what they're generally tending to do in most of them is fire these choppers up. That's CGI, that one. That's CGI, I can tell that. But that's them explaining what they're going to do, and then this is the real deal. And it does look a bit different to the CGI to me. So what they'll do in this video is they'll fire this up into the sky. There it goes. I'm not a huge fan of Elon Musk, but this is exactly, you know, what we're talking about. So, and it breaks. What happens is, at some point, the rocket breaks into pieces. Some of it carries on up into the sky, and some of it comes down to the Earth. And they show you both bits. And then they show it up in space. Like, this is all one continuous video. There's no break in video. So this is the imagery that we get to that I find age choose 20% now. You see a phallus going to a feminine moon, 2 months of astrology research. The problem is you couldn't have a feminine shape fired up into the sky, could you? Because it wouldn't be that aerodynamic. I mean, it just happens to be the shape of the rocket, I suppose. But here, we've got live images. These were broadcast live. They're now recorded. And, like, there it is. The rocket's really hot. It's up in space. They want to know all about where it is and how fast it's going, so they've got all the details at the bottom. It's one continuous shot. So there's no, like, oh, cut to this and cut to that. Like, I don't think that's CGI. I think if you're going to CGI it, you'd actually do it better. You'd make it look crispier. You'd make it look sharper. It looks a bit rubbish for CGI because the two things that are a bit rubbish that we're seeing here, one is the YouTube compression, so it might just be that, but the other is that the speed of the things that are happening are so fast, and the shutter settings and all that on the camera aren't capturing every tiny detail because it's so fast. But look, here it is now. Look, it's broken off and now it's falling. So we're going to now fall from space. We're going to fall from space here. You might not believe it, but I do. You know, I think this looks legit. I think it seems legit. And when you consider the amount of money that's been spent and all the different people that have had that money and where it's gone, and, you know, the chain of progress that we've been going on, that first video I showed you to this, there's been a lot of different stuff along the way. It's now able to land. Obviously the light caused artifacts on the recording, but there we go, it's landed. So that's from Earth to Earth, Earth to space to Earth, we've seen that go. So to me that's pretty straightforward. I don't see why that... If it is CGI, why? Who's CGIing that and for what purpose? Because they're spending money doing it. I find that a bit... Look at the black line at the end of the rocket. I don't really see anything untoward here. I just don't see anything untoward here. I think if you were going to CGI it, it would actually look different. I want to see a CGI rocket landing, because there are also, oh look, this is CGI Falcon. How? No way. Look at the landing. What the fuck? Fake CGI. Okay. This one says it's fake. There are things like when you watch CGI, you see different kinds of a way to spot. Like they say we might be in a simulation, but we're not in a simulation, because if we were, there'd be certain glitches, certain digital glitches, and we don't see them. Like CGI, there's a different set of glitches that you get. Like the glitches we saw on that last image were because of the bright light and the camera being unable to record it properly. You get a different kind of glitch in CGI. Look at the landing with fake CGI, it says. I know, what, does this scream CGI to you? Does this scream fake to you? Don't see anything really wrong with that. What are they doing now? Rewinding it? No? Yeah, they're rewinding it now. Look, the smoke going backwards, so that's in rewind. So it couldn't take off like that. That's not it taking off. That was obviously rewound. How can this land like this? Impossible, it says. Well, it's not impossible, is it, that it lands like this? What it's doing is it's self-correcting. Well, it took them a long time to teach it to land like that. Now they're reversing it again. Oh, that's the whole point of the technology, to get it to land like that. And it didn't just land like that. It took them a lot of attempts and fails. And the fact that this person doesn't understand how it works doesn't mean it doesn't work. Like, means that this person's not really Elon Musk level. Didn't burn up on re-entry. That's new, it says. Well, of course it wouldn't, because it didn't exit the... Like, its purpose is to take you up to that point, and then this final rocket booster that separates goes up, and, you know, it goes past that. This doesn't need to burn up on re-entry, because it doesn't re-enter, it doesn't exit. We just believe the reality we're presented with. Only when we start questioning do we see how dumb it is. Well, I don't know, though, because I think we do question everything. That's how we perceive reality. I think that's a strange way to argue that. Like, what science is the questioning of reality. Like, what we do in science is we say, I'm not sure about this, let's test that, let's question that, and then we get the answers, and then we have to question those answers because we don't know everything. We learn. That's what questioning is. Like, it's not that we just accept and believe the reality. The only things we can understand are through the questioning of minds. So they landed on the moon, first time, no hassle. Yet when they do it on the Earth, it looks... Yeah, that makes sense though, doesn't it, Rudy? Because the moon has got it's got weaker gravity, like the forces at play are weaker. So landing on the moon is less... there's less impact involved. There's less gravity. So the force bringing you to the moon is weaker, so it's more gentle, I think. Whereas if you're landing from all the way up there in the sky to the Earth, by the time you get down here, you've created such a huge velocity. You know, your speed through the air, it's very fast, and then the time that it takes you to stop is very short. So I think it is harder to land on the Earth than the moon, I think. Once you're up in space, it is. Who's going to bring up Werner von Braun? Okay, I'll copy and paste that into my file. And it is hard because there's a lot for me to get through, and I'm doing this today on just... No, I'm not coming with any pre-plan. I'm just saying, let's have a look at it. Let's see what you say. We'll have a look at, you know, certain things. Richard D. Hall totally rejects flat Earth. You know what, Richard D. Hall, I think I've heard that name. Didn't he do the Madeleine McCann stuff? I think he did, didn't he? I really respect him for his extensive work in that. Not Werner von Braun, sorry. Richard D. Hall. Let's have a quick look, because I think he did. Richard D. Hall. Yes, I know exactly who this is. I've watched loads of his work. He's done the Madeleine McCann stuff, look. And the funniest thing about for me, is Madeleine McCann stuff, is that it's probably the best stuff on the internet regarding Madeleine McCann. Like, there's a lot of it, though. Look at how much there is. Some of the best stuff on the internet, you know, he's really dug deep and been very... that's going a bit off Madeleine McCann there, but from about there, it's all Madeleine McCann on the way up. So if you want to make that one documentary that someone can watch with your information, that would be nice, but instead you can't because it's like 10 hours of content. And I learned some stuff through that was really interesting. The embedded confessions bit is huge. We'll do an episode on it, because when you combine what he's done with the Gonzalo Amaral book, The Truth of the Lie, you actually get to the core of the case, which is that her parents killed her and then threw her body into the sea after hiding it in the church for some days. That's what happened. They killed her with sedatives because they wanted to go and have a party down with their friends, and they didn't want to have to keep going back to the house, and the kids kept waking up, and so they just gave her some sedatives, and when they went back she was choking and dying, so they did first aid on her, and she spat all her blood up onto the walls. There was record of the bodily fluid in a spatter pattern on the walls. They're only allowed to call it fluid in Portugal, because when you send things off to the lab they test for DNA trace, but they don't test whether it's blood or not. They just tell you what kind of DNA it is. So it could be spit DNA or it could be mucus DNA. They tell you it's got McCann DNA, but they don't tell you it's got blood. So you can't confirm it's blood, but you can say it was spatter on the walls in keeping with a chest compression first aid process, and that contains the DNA of either Madeleine or her mom, one of the two, conclusively. So it's really interesting. Really interesting. You watched every second of the Maddie stuff? Yeah, so have I. I mean, there's a lot of seconds of it. I could see why it didn't break through to the mainstream, because you can't present that much information in this way and expect people to just watch it and understand it. Not the average person. You have to really, you know, break it down, don't you? And, you know... Anyway, I do know who Rich Hall is. I do know who he is. So, I expect if we're going to type in... What did you say? Werner someone. Werner von Braun. Can't even spell him. I expect if he's done a video on it, it'll take forever and I won't be able to analyse it. And he hasn't done one specifically on him. Werner von Braun. I don't even know who he is. Oh, he's a Nazi inside NASA. Okay. Like, yeah, you totally have got loads of Nazis in America. Like, what happened was, of course, some of these Nazis might not have been, like, horrible Nazis. They might have just, like, imagine you're a scientist, you live in Germany, Hitler takes over, now you're a Nazi. Now Hitler owns your science. Well, fuck off, Hitler, I don't want to do that. Oh, right, okay, I'll put you in prison and murder you then. Okay, might play along with Hitler then. I mean, I don't know about these people. I can't question their beliefs. But I do know, after the war, we had all those bad Nazis making bombs for America so we could drop them on Japan and stuff, didn't we? You know, the people that were designing the bad weapons, we had them come to us, join our club. A lot of the Nazis went to Argentina. This is a total diversion now, but I'm going to do it anyway. Sabbatical, Argentina. Nazis. I met the family of Nazis who fled to Argentina. I didn't. This guy did. He's one of my favourite internet travel vloggers. It's called Sabbatical, and he gets himself into some situations. So he's in this part of Argentina, and what happened was the Nazis... Okay. This is the granddaughter of a Nazi. So her great-granddad was a Nazi. They came here from Germany when they lost the war to Argentina, and they started like this German colony. There's quite a lot of Germans out there still. And she's not a Nazi. She doesn't believe anything like horrific. But that's, you know, there they are. There they are. They're all over the world. Not so much in Germany these days. Well, what would I know? But they did, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They went to NASA. They worked in NASA. Anyone science-based, anyone... got so many windows open now, so I'm going to have to close a few. Anyone science-based, anyone that could help with anything interesting, we had them, put them on our team. This was a thing I opened just before I started about space disinformation, but it was a bit rubbish, so I don't want to look at that. I want to show you something else as well. So we looked at these. You don't like these videos. I just want to say, just before we clear off this with SpaceX, because I do see a lot of anti-NASA. I see a lot of anti-NASA stuff. You know, I get that NASA has been tarred with this Nazi brush because of the, you know, bad decisions. Well, not bad decisions, just the decisions that were made in the past. I see that, and NASA sort of nearly closed down a few years ago, and they've been reignited, haven't they? They've had their funding sort of upped again, but partly through the work of SpaceX, but partly SpaceX are in competition. So I wanted to make it clear, though, it's not just NASA. What's happening right now is that China have got their own space, and this is something that came up in the news today. Look, watch this. China fake space. You'll like this. You will actually like this. China's fake space station training video mocked by netizens. We're netizens. Beijing calls it a foreign conspiracy. So what happened today? Where is it? Where's it gone? Oh, read more. Today or yesterday is this. We'll have a look. And then once I've had a look at this, I'll ask you some questions, and I want just to find your answers out. I understand that those that took orders regret, but those that create those... Yeah, I get you, Squirrel Sniper, I get what you're saying. The thing is, I don't know who took orders and who gave orders, and I don't know if you're working on, like, rocket propellant or, like, whatever, you know, hydrogen bombs. If you're in an office, in a laboratory, working on hydrogen for the Nazis, I don't know if that means you're out there, you know, pushing Jews off the pavement. Off the pavement, Jew! Get off the pavement, Jew. They literally used to make the Jews walk in the road and not on the you know, get off the pavement, Jew. I don't know if you were doing that or not. I can't verify that. All I know is that you were doing your science in your laboratory before Nazism, before, like, the ideas of Nazism. You were doing your science in your laboratory. Then Nazism came along, and they're in charge, and they're funding you, and you're doing your science in your laboratory. Then the Nazis go away, and you move to America. So you don't... What I'm not seeing is some strong political reasoning for your science if you're a Nazi scientist. What I'm seeing is scientists happy to move to America. Okay, you would be. You don't want to lose the war and just be written off, do you? But, like, they're happy to move to America. They're not like, oh, fuck this America. I don't want to move there. I want to see all the Jews killed. There's so many Jews running the place in America. I'm not having this. They weren't bothered. They just do their science wherever. Whoever's going to fund me to do my science, I'll go and do it there. That's the feeling I get from them. I don't feel like they're strongly political. I just think this political thing went on around them, but, you know, what do I know? That's my feeling anyway. You've got a different feeling. Let's have a look at this Chinese thing, because it's interesting. But what we've got to say, before we completely get into it, right, is that China have now got their own space station. They're in competition with the US. We've got the International Space Station, the ISS, which we have Americans, Russians, all sorts of people on there. But we don't let the Chinese on, because we're in competition problems. So they've got their own space station. They're doing it their way. They've recently set it up, and they plan to make it bigger and better than the West. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge. So it's up there in space in competition. They are also trying to get to the moon. There's a race to the moon at the moment. We've got a... there's a... What did you call it? Like a declaration? Declaration not to loot space. We've... There's a... the rights... No. Exploit space. There is a legal, like, international legal space law, and the idea was to put together a document to say the International Space Station Agreement, like who's going to work on things and all that. But the real thing they were worried about was who's got the rights. What's going to happen if you find loads of good stuff on the moon? Who's got the rights to mine that? And what they basically said was there's an international law where nothing in space can be owned by somebody else. It's all for humanity. We don't want to like raid and piracy in space. You know, you don't want to have China land on the moon and mine the whole thing, and then China are really rich and we've got nothing. So we had this agreement. No one's going to mine space. without the acceptance of all the others. However, space laws, Antarctic laws, news are all collaboration by one world government. But that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? To have a one world approach to something like this, because if you don't, then you can't regulate it. Like, we are one world. I don't know if you notice, there's not two Earths. We are one world. So certain like things would make more sense to have a one world approach. That's just how it is. It's just how it is. So space is one of those. Unfortunately, right? They're not signing up to it. China don't want to sign up to that, and nor do America. Instead, they'd rather have a race. So China are busy on the race, America are busy on the race. They're competing to see who can get to the moon and, you know, exploit space the quickest. So it would seem strange that if that were the case, that they'd both be faking it. Why wouldn't one of them actually do it? Don't you think one of them would actually do it? Don't you think there's anything valuable on the moon? Do you think there's any value at all in controlling that space? Not, you know, space, but that area of space. Of course there is. That's why they're competing. It makes more sense to me that they'd be competing to own that than, like, if it was all fake, why would China suddenly desperately want to be part of this faking it crew? Like a fake Cold War. But there's no Cold War about it. The Cold War was like, we were worried about whether we would become nuclear toast tomorrow. There's none of that about this. It's just about science, being up in space, the future. You know, within our lifetimes, they're not going to mine the moon dry. There's no threat, overarching threat. It's more about science and pushing the world forward and gaining a competitive advantage in a marketplace, maybe. But not really about, I don't think it's like a Cold War threat. I find it strange. Let's see what they, like, to me, it would make more sense that for all the stuff we know about space and our near space, you know, it would make more sense that we were actually firing people up into space. They were staying in these really quite rudimentary metal box things up there, doing a bit of science. You know, it'd make more sense that China were competing. Like, do you know what I mean? It for me, it makes more sense that that's the real deal. This is digitally immersive training and operational support solutions. Oh, look. Digitally immersive. So they do make digitally immersive things. Of course they do. Of course they do. They do that for the racing. Remember earlier we saw the race cars. But, like, it would seem less likely that they'd just be faking it for no reason. Like, why bother? Like, you could win the space race by just not bothering at all, because it's just a waste of time and energy if you're faking it. Anyway, this is what the Chinese have been doing, or supposedly been doing. Now the argument is she's put water in that jar and the water's staying in the jar, not just floating around everywhere. That's the argument. Obviously her hair's floating around everywhere, so we don't mind that. And that's really hard to do in CGI hair like that. Her hair's floating around everywhere, but the water isn't. And of course water has surface tension. It will stick to the jar, so to speak. The jar's not flying around, no, nor's the laptop. Things stay in place in space because you put them on sticky things and keep them there. But yeah. So you've got a jar of water in space. Oh, it's wobbling. It isn't just completely stuck there. But I suppose, like with inertia, things, unless they like physically move it, inertia's just going to keep it there. Look, he's getting the ball out. He's getting a ping pong ball out of the water. That was submerged in the water. Look at the water. Look at the way the water works. That's real to me. Real space. Don't look fake to me. Making sure there's no excess water on the ball because you don't want it floating around in your spaceship. So that's what they've been doing. They've been doing these experiments with water. Look, there it is sloshing around in like kind of weird slow motion in the jar. And people have said, well, that's clearly fake. Clearly fake. Look, she's pouring the water from that bag into there. It's absolutely clearly fake. I don't know. What do you think? Scott, potential ban. Red Dwarf is brilliant. I love Red Dwarf. I love Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf was brilliant, yeah. Wasn't as sophisticated as this in terms of CGI. And the point they're making is, look, the ping pong ball is staying submerged in the water, which it wouldn't do on Earth. Look, she's having to... See how she's having to carefully pull this jar away from the table because it was stuck to the table? Look, watch that. Stuck to the table. Don't pull too hard. Oh, it's released. She's got little sticky things on the bottom. And now look. Is that CGI? Or is it real space? Because whilst we've got really good computer-generated images these days, I mean, we really do, you've got to look at the reflection inside the jar and everything, you know, how that's done. I mean, it seems like it's just real to me. It seems to me like it's just real. It's not the best quality. It's not the best HD. This is presented at 4K, but yeah, it's still a bit... The problem you got is YouTube compression, internet compression, and like this does... I would argue again that if this was 4K and it was CGI, it would look sharp. Why does it look so rubbish? I need to watch some Marvel movies to see what CGI do. You know what? That's a good point. I don't watch a lot of those movies. I'm not interested in that sort of shit. But I do know a bit about it. And that's my point. Is that wouldn't this look better than a Marvel movie? Wouldn't it look the same? This looks shit compared to a Marvel movie. It's just some people putting some water in a fucking jar. Why wouldn't you go whole hog? And look, they've got those abnormal postures. What, they're supposed to be on wires, are they, or something? To me, that looks real. Like, it's the sort of thing I'm expecting maybe to see in space, but also it's the I know. I'm saying to me that looks real. We're saying it's in chat. It looks fake. She's not upside down. She uses heavy mousse to keep her hair like that. I mean, no, I don't know. I'll tell you what. I've done hairdressing. I've been a hairdresser for a good number of years, and it would be very difficult. Very difficult. And it's not just difficult to, you know, for the hair to be like that. Like, you can see it's not all crispy mousse. You can see it's light and feathery at the edges, so it's not hair mousse, crispy, held, stuck in place. And also, CGI, it's hard to do hair in CGI as well, isn't it? So, I mean, what are we saying? We're saying that somebody works... Another thing that you'd have to say, right? If it is CGI, bear this in mind. The people would have to work on the CGI all over the world. Chinese groups, American groups, whatever. And nobody's been a whistleblower. Nobody sort of showed you the process. Oh, look, this is them on the green screen. No one's grabbed a photo of that quickly or what have you. That's weird. And on the green screen, you wouldn't get that reflective, like through the water bag. You'd get the blue off her clothing, yeah. But when they move the jar, you see the reflection of everything behind it through the jar. So this is critical for green screen. Is that if the background is a green screen... Yeah. Then when this travels across the background, the CGI has to take into effect what you think is on the background green screen. It doesn't know because you have green screen laying onto it. What that would show behind it would be green screen, wouldn't it? And then you lay your background through. How would the background invert and change in the jar? I need something like a jar to show you. Just give me 1 second. I'll get a glass. Walter, take your daughter to the slaughter. There's my water. See my water on green screen? right? Do you see the way it doesn't affect the background? See the way you can see the background perfectly through it? Yeah? If I turn, I'm going to have to show you some... how am I going to show you this best now? This is a brain ache for me. Camera, filters, chroma off. Okay, close. I'm actually using pink screen, but it's the same. So you can see the green screen behind, yeah? And when I hold my hand up... Sorry, I'm using my brain. When I hold my hand up and pass my hand... You see how my hand's upside down and inverted? You can see that reflection of my hand upside down and inverted. Yeah? My hand's all different in the glass. When I turn on the green screen... Now, my hand's inverted. Yeah, the reflection of my hand is inverted. So it still does that. But the background isn't. You just see the background as is through the glass. In fact, the glass almost is completely vanished. Because water on glass, in terms of green screen technology, it just goes straight, you know, don't even see it, does it? It don't even see it. The only things you can see are the imperfections on the glass. This is an old glass from the local pub that I've walked home with over. Don't tell them, but it is. And it's got loads of scratches on it and stuff. And it says Carlsberg. You can see the Carlsberg and the scratches, but you can't see where it's really clean and clear and really, you know, see through. When I pass it across the background doesn't change. The background's still the background. So that's an example of that. Whereas in their pictures, in their images, when this jam jar travels across, what you see is, you see her and the, sorry. You see her and her, you know, suit. There though, right there, you can see all of the background, all inverting and changing, and so that doesn't look like green screen to me. And to do that with a green screen behind you, very difficult. Even on CGI. Even on CGI. To get that accurate lensing effect of the water, not to have that, if you were doing it my way with a green screen, even though I'm not like super NASA, I'm just, you know, person at home, the green screen tends to make the glass disappear. So theirs would tend to disappear. At no point in any of this footage is there any glitching of that. Just take that. Let's say, for example, you're creating this from scratch on CGI or whatever. You get little problems in the computer code sometimes. You get little bugs, little glitches. In all of the space stuff, it's not present, is it? No glitching. It's almost like it's analog recording onto a sensor. So I'm happier with that. I mean, you know nothing about CGI green screen, so like, I don't know loads, but what I do know is what I can see with my own eyes, and that's the kind of stuff that one of the problems we've got with this science debunking. Where's my music gone? Restart that. One of the problems we've got with this science debunking is we're not scientists in the main. Some of us are quite smart. Like, some of you are quite smart, I'm saying, but like, we don't know all the ins and outs. We've not worked on it for years and years like the people who make CGI have. So we just have to go on our intuition and what we call common sense. And sometimes our intuition and common sense doesn't actually tell us the right story. That's a human fallacy, isn't it? That's what part of being human is. When common sense is totally wrong. I'm just going to ask Google if, you know, if there are any examples of common sense being totally wrong. Highly improbable events will never happen. If a chance is 1 in a million, it will occur every 1 in a million tries, but it occurs every day, doesn't it? Every week, every week someone wins the lottery, even though it's really outrageously small odds. Every week someone wins it. These are funny examples. These are just people's examples, and they're not particularly good. Not particularly good. Let's find some other... I just want to find some things that we would all agree, oh, that sounds like common sense, and then it turns out to be completely wrong. And see if we can find some examples of that. Because I think that's kind of the way we're approaching this is space real thing. You know, just like, do I assume X, Y, or Z? Because unless someone's going to come here and say that they've worked on the early CGI and they can tell me about the code and, you know, how artifacts happen and what compression is. How do I know that they know? These are all rubbish. These are all rubbish. I know that is pertinent. Common sense facts that are just plain wrong. I mean, you ever watch QI? They do a round on general ignorance, don't they? And it's that sort of thing. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. Lightning prefers to hit tall structures. So a lightning strike looks to the path for the ground and would strike the same place twice. You should always cover your head in winter. That's just common sense, but it's not true. It's just the reason our heads... The reason you lose more heat out your head is because you don't cover it. It's not like your head exports more heat than any other part of your body. Your body equally allows heat to radiate, but we assume the head radiates more. I don't know. Like, there's lots of common sense anyway. So, drinking warm drinks to warm you up is a common myth. So there you go. It's called being lied to your whole life. It has an effect on what you perceive as common sense. Possibly. I mean, I know there's lots of things that people took for granted before we had the systems to measure and understand them, and then they had to change what they took for granted. And the stuff my granddad used to say, like my granddad used to say, fish is brain food, carrots are good for your eyes. I mean, he was kind of right. Fish has got omega oils in it, which are good for your brain. I'm vegan, I don't, but you know, it does. And carrots are good for your eyes with vitamin A. He didn't know that. So some things that people say do work out to be true. I mean, there's lots of glitches in most videos. Yes, the thing is, drink water. We saw some glitches in this that were consistent with the way they're recording it, that were inconsistent with it being like, it's like type of glitch. Like if you're making a CGI, like, you know, when we play Flight Simulator, you know, we play Flight Simulator sometimes and the buildings don't pop in or something like that. Yeah. Like, those kind of glitches, you go bang, that's CGI, bang, straight away. Look, it's rendering. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas the kind of glitches we get on this are artifacts based on what we know of camera sensor technology and its ability to perceive light. Like, you see that flame? This is a really good example. That flame, at no point has a consistent line around it. It's always, like, if you zoomed into that image, you'd see lots of funny pixel blocking. What we call JPEG, it's like JPEG compression. I'm not even that much of an expert on this, but if you take... I can't type today for some reason. And why isn't my music... Oh no, I haven't got my headphones plugged in. So, like, you get these... This is a good example. Like, you get these artifacts that look like great big pixels, where it's not able to sort of decide what colour all the pixels should be, so it just sort of rounds it up around it, and it starts to look blocky. They're not individual pixels, they're bigger than pixels, but the camera's having a fucking job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that sort of shit goes on. That's what I would expect to see in digital cameras. Like, digital cameras filming things, yeah? That sort of problem. This is just an example of JPEG compression, like, just trying to find some other, like this is a good example. You've all seen these sort of, open image in a new tab, you've all seen these sort of problems on an image where it's like blocky, like computer blocky. But if you do CGI glitches, and God help me if it looks the same, CGI glitching is different, because they're way beyond JPEG compression now. Like, they're way beyond JPEG compression. In fact, any compression artifacts you see in these images will be by nature of them being taken from stills and uploaded to the internet. The actual film CGI stuff doesn't have that JPEG compression, but it has different glitches. It has different kinds of glitches. Like, you might see screen tear, or things popping in and out, or rendering differently. Like, we're not looking at a flat image anymore. We're looking at a 3D image that's created with polygons, shapes behind it, textures. So people who know about that, they're looking for different kinds of glitching, different kinds of what you might call artifacts. I use things like this in my digital artworks to, like, I take glitchy images like this and flash them over it and change with the settings. It's got grain in it and stuff to make it look like I've had a little glitch. That's not what you'd see on a CGI though. That's camera artifacts. So the fact that I can, like, because CGIs don't use cameras, so they don't have that problem in recording the colours. They know what the colours are because the fucking computer tells them. Like, it never has a problem knowing which colour should be what on the pixels. It's not that kind of problem it has. It has different kinds of problems on CGI. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a good example of a CGI glitch, you know. Let's have a look at a video, see if we can get one. The problem with videos, even worse than... the problem with video is even worse than photographs, by nature of YouTube and the way... When I upload a really high quality image video, if I shoot a video in super 4K, super duper 4K wonderful, and upload it to YouTube in HD, YouTube compresses things down. Like, it has these algorithms that it's not your original file anymore, it's what YouTube thought it could show, and sometimes it gets a bit rubbishy. Sometimes it looks a bit glitchy and horrible. And again, that's not CGI, that's the nature of compressing data in video format. We'll see what happens here, look.
Moderation, like candy, or in the case of live-action movies, CGI. Although some movies have made millions and even billions on the strength of their animation alone, others have laid it on a little thick. Broadway musical of all time, which itself was based on a rhyming book of poetry,
like,
written by T.S. Eliot for his Nunk and his...
This is what the NASA stuff would look like. It would look crisp and, like, I mean, this isn't that crisp because it's a re-upload of a clip of a thing, but like, it would look crisp and sharp and well done. Not all like, and the same with stuff, you know, this doesn't look as good as that. Watch. Like, this looks like filmed on a Nokia. Looks a bit rubbish compared to what you can do with CGI these days. And if you're spending all that money, I would expect you get it right. Let's have a look at some of these CGI glitches, though. I want to see what CGI glitching looks like.
Dame Judi Dench. The movie could have gone one of two ways. It could have been an interesting reimagining of one of the fur technologies, not even furry. The cats managed to be both androgynous and endowed with hints of reproductive parts, a contradiction that led Jason Derulo, who plays Rum Tum Tugger, to complain about the CGI team editing out his bulge. He described how he had to wear a tight spandex suit during filming, which...
I don't think this is actually glitches, I think this is just bad CGI films. Have you ever seen a glitch in a movie? It's probably harder to see in a movie, isn't it? Because they'd probably go over and, you know, they'd probably try and clean out the glitches. Pretty weird seeing something like this. Have you ever seen it? Some errors. 1080p, 30 seconds. There's a leaf misses a few frames and does a noticeable stutter as it moves. So there's a leaf that stutters. Like I was saying, things will pop in and out of existence. Like, one leaf doesn't match the frame rate as everything else. I can't see it, it's not a video, but he's suggesting it's in this film, The Incredibles, which I don't know what that is. Is Frozen the one with the clipping? Do you know what clipping is in games? And this Nostalgia Critic's got a...
Oh, by the way, just to give you an idea how bad the CGI is, you can actually see where the glowing effect is cut off.
There you go. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. That's a really good example. Well done. Nostalgia Critic.
Give yourself a plus for that. Yes. So Simmons is shown where he's buried, as he's, funny enough, right next to a...
God hogs up all the good followers, make it all...
The glowing effect is...
There. You can see where the arrow is, there's a straight line on top of the glowing effect. That's a mistake they've made. They've put a glowing effect on, and the glowing effect ends in a straight line, because, you know, that's where the top of the glowing effect ends. So it should, the rays should pan out, but they don't. That's an imperfection, that's an inconsistency. And so that's where you can see that CGI. That's the kind of glitch or kind of error you would get in a CGI construction. Whereas something like this being like blocky, or like you can actually see the colours around it in almost like banding of colour as well. Like the sky almost like has bands of colour. Like there's like a clear line between the two kinds of blue here. I don't know if you can see that, but I can on my screen. It looks like there might be some dirt or something on the screen, but no, it's squares. It's in squares. It's that exact compression, that JPEG compression stuff. Might not be JPEGs this time, but it's that kind of artifact. So it's a different kind of artifact. Like you're not seeing a straight line across there where the effect ends or anything like that. It's different kinds of glitches, different kinds of artifacts. So I think I've covered that. I think, you know, you can believe what you want, but I think these are camera and digital photography artifacts, and that you get a different kind of glitch in a CGI creation. And the point as well is that if we're doing human creations, if this is fake, if humans have done it, then the internet has spotted it's fake because why? Because the water stays in the jar, they say in this. They say that's the problem with it. The way the water sits in the jar, it would float around in space, wouldn't it? Float around it would, but it doesn't. It stays in the jar. So it's not that they've spotted an artifact that kind of conclusive. There's a straight line. That's a glitch. That's not right. That's CGI. Not that, but my opinion on how water would behave. Forgetting the fact that behind it is the image that's supposed to be green screen. So this can't be now green screen. Either it is or it isn't green screen. But if it is green screen, why can't I zoom in, you chuffer? If it isn't green screen, then we're now saying that one of the most commonly held beliefs that is the reasons that we're saying it's fake because it's green screen stuff. Well, now it's not, or it is. See what I'm saying? Carrots do not contain vitamin A. Oh, I might have got that wrong then. It might be vitamin K. You know, it might just be a slip of the tongue there. Sorry. I'll be quite fair and say if I'm wrong, won't I? Carrots. Let's just see what kind of vitamins. I was just giving you an example. My granddad used to say they were good for your. Oh look, vitamin A. Oh, they do. Or it says they do. It says they do. Extracting vitamin A from carrots. If someone's got a video, I watched a really good video of someone extracting potassium from bananas the other day. So I just want to see if someone can, extract this vitamin A and show it you, but maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. There's a lot of videos about carrot juice, aren't there? That's not what I'm looking for. Measuring vitamin C in food there. There's a way to measure it. It's not vitamin C, it's vitamin A, but... see, this is another tangent, isn't it? But I believe carrots do contain vitamin A, but you don't. And that's okay. That's okay. I'll eat carrots. You don't have to. We're not enemies because of it. I find it strange that there's something that I accept, you don't accept. And there are things that, I think we should cover this quickly here while I'm here, is that I grew up in a world where I had to question the narrative before people were asking you to question the narrative. Where I watched the Twin Towers go down and I said to myself, well, I wonder how America were involved in that. And then years later, it turns out America were involved in that. Not even a conspiracy theory and not even saying anything wild. Just, we know the truths. I lived in a world where I saw all this BS. People didn't know who murdered JFK, but in my world, we could start to find some stuff out about what Coca-Cola really was doing in Colombia. We had a few more answers. A really funny one that I like to reference is Stanley Kubrick. NASA, because obviously NASA did pay Stanley Kubrick to film moon landing footage. It's not just a conspiracy. He actually did work with NASA. Like, he got paid by them and everything. But I've told you before, haven't I, that I think NASA pay lots of people to create images of space for their marketing, especially before they get there. They're talking about what it's going to be like on the moon. They want some images to put on the, this is what it's going to be like when we get there. And they employ a really top filmmaker to get them some good images. And if you're taking a camera to the moon and everyone's watching and you don't get any footage because the camera breaks, everyone's going to say that's shit. And you can say, well, look at this stuff that Stanley Kubrick did. This is what it would have been like. Maybe you even pretend it's the real stuff, because your camera broke. But you'd have a backup plan and you'd have a marketing team. So, of course, you're going to create footage of moon landings that aren't actual moon landings. Like, of course you are. Like, if you're going to, build a great big new building, you create a little model of it. Like, it's quite normal to create images and examples of things that we intend to do. So that's quite normal. I believe in that. But I also want to show you, where I'm coming from in terms of Zeitgeist. I mean, you probably have heard of Zeitgeist, haven't you? The movie. You've probably heard of that, haven't you? Like,
what do you want?
I was in a generation
that I don't.
I was in a generation where this was like fresh. Like, this wasn't some that's CGI there, or that's CGI.
The Earth.
Also, this is important to note. CGI. This is a random tangent, but CGI's come a long way, hasn't it? When I was growing up, Catchphrase had CGI. Catchphrase had CGI, didn't it? Anyway, Catchphrase, shows us how CGI has changed over the years, and it's got a lot better now. But the space images have changed, not in the same pace and scale as CGI. Instead, they changed at the same pace and scale as photography. So there's that to work into your brain as well. This Zeitgeist movie.
It is called a procession because the constellations go backwards rather than through the normal establishment, who have been using the myth.
Was more focused on religion, I suppose, wasn't it? I don't know.
We designed the buildings to take the impact of the Boeing 707.
And, it talks about the Twin Towers, doesn't it, and stuff. I don't know, does it? I can't remember now these days, whatever. Like, Zeitgeist, the movie, was big in my day, and we were questioning the narrative back, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. It's not a new thing. It's not a new internet thing that questioned the narrative. But I'm not coming from a place of like, oh, super science, I got a science degree and I think you're all idiots. I'm coming from a place of questioning the narrative so much when I was younger that you could call me anti-capitalist, anti-consumer. And then you've got what's his name? Curtis. Is it Ian Curtis? What's his name? Damn it, I need to know his name. Adam Curtis. Then you've got Adam Curtis. This is really important. Anyone that's watching this, that's into question the narrative, that's into any of this shit, right? You've got to watch Adam Curtis's work. You've got to watch it. Bitter Lake, hypernormalization. Hypernormalization, massive. 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 It talks about how the media creates narratives.
The growing debt, and whether the city would ever be able to pay it back. And then one day in 1975, the banks just stopped. The city held its regular meeting to issue bonds in return for the loans.
He knows a lot of stuff, Adam Curtis. He knows a lot. He's done these on Society, stuff like that. There's Bitter Lake. There's also, he's got a YouTube channel, and he's got quite a lot. No, this isn't his YouTube channel. Maybe he's changed it. He used to have a YouTube channel with quite a lot of his work on it just available. Adam I Can't Get You Out of My Head. That's a really good series as well. Adam Curtis documentaries. For some reason, it's gone. That's a bit weird. Hypernormalisation, there it is. Oh, it's on the BBC. So that's probably why it's gone, is because now it's on the BBC. And, looking behind what we're shown to see, take the illusion out of my eyes and show me the reality. He did a really good one about oil and the Saudis and how they funded the terrorism and Wahhabism. That's Bitter Lake, isn't it? That's Bitter Lake. Like, you've got to, if you want to understand the world, you've got to be looking at it through these eyes. And it goes from history. It's not so pertinent now, but it goes through the history of like Iraq and all this, and the big players and the power pushes and the reasons. There's a lot there that they just don't tell you on the news. And he constructs it in a very understandable, straightforward way.
And why? Why a beacon here in Kabul?
I have absolutely no idea.
So there's lots, I'm coming from this. I'm not coming from, I trust the government, I think they're brilliant, I got my government hat on. I'm like, fuck these people, they're lying to us. So I see that, but then I think there's another issue, which is you kind of follow that too far, and you go, okay, so the government are lying to us, now what do I believe? I've got to find my information somewhere, and then you've got this problem of like maybe falling into other traps. I think if they know that you don't trust them, they might pump out loads of other shit that you might believe, like that they still then pumping it out. And people say, well, what about, and I'm not going to want to say the words properly, but what about this? What about this stuff? What about these ideas? Well, I'll tell you something, if something's going to come through 4chan, the arsehole of the internet, God's own arsehole of the internet, something's going to come through 4chan, if you want to put information out there, don't put it on there, because everyone's going to assume it's a load of bullshit, because it's the arsehole of the internet where people can post anything they want with anonymity, and so they use it to pump out right-wing memes. And there are kids there that are 14 that just having a laugh saying the N-word, and Hitler did nothing wrong. They're having a laugh saying that. Like, to them it's funny. Like, do you remember when you were at school and it was funny just to say something controversial, to shout bum in the class or whatever? Hitler did nothing wrong. This is a meme. Except it's not, because I can't find it. Although only like a couple of years ago, that was the first thing that came up when I typed it in, and now it's not coming up, which is weird. Obviously, it's been banned off the internet, has it? Hitler did nothing wrong. Obviously, I think Hitler did lots of things wrong, so I understand the meme is a joke. Look, it's a joke. Reject all. Reject. Hitler did nothing wrong is a statement used for trolling purposes to deny the acts that Adolf Hitler was responsible during his reign were morally wrong. Over the time, the phrase became used as a snow clone. X did nothing wrong. But the joke is that people get really angry and you troll them. That's trolling on the internet. It doesn't matter what they're angry about. They get angry and you troll them. And if they're the left wing and you hate them and you think they're idiots, chuffing snowflake feminazis, then you do a meme like this and they go, oh my god, I can't believe you posted that, oh my god, or whatever, and then you're trolling them. You don't actually think Hitler did nothing wrong, you just think it's funny to say it on the internet because you're 14. You know what I'm saying? So you've got that world, and then what's really interesting is you've got now a crossover between a more grown-up world. You've got adults now saying what's on 4chan. My uncle, who's 80 odd, he's looking on 4chan. Trust me, he's reading 4chan. He thinks it's like, oh, he's found out that this is where the young people on the internet are anonymously posting information. If it's anonymous, it might be true, it might be real. He seems to think it's all real, and he sees these memes these stupid things, and he buys into them sometimes. Now let me tell you something else about this stuff, this letter of the alphabet stuff, is that whatever your opinions, and some of you are Americans in chat, but whatever your opinions, You're talking to each other a little bit. Talking about God. Okay, I can't really address some of these things because we can talk about God in a slightly different context. And I'm not doing a conversation about that now, so I won't divert to that now. But it's interesting to me. We can talk about it. Here's a psyop controlled by opposition. Yeah, I think psyop's a good word for this, although I don't use it necessarily because. And please don't argue in chat. Remember, we're here to have discussions. If you have disagreements, okay. That's fine. We don't all agree on the same information here. That's fine. That's fine. But we're not going to get angry and wound up and try and prove each other's point. You know, accept that maybe whoever you're talking to in chat might not just suddenly agree with what you say and vice versa. Just accept it and we'll just have fun sharing ideas and not getting cross at each other. Okay? Just please, please, please. And so what happened, whether you think this is true, obviously we don't think it's true. Yeah, I don't think it's true. But whatever you think about this stuff, this conspiracy stuff, this American specific Q stuff, right? Bear in mind, my uncle, who's 80 and lives in the UK, is into this shit now. Why has he got to be into this shit? He's read it on the internet. The internet's global, but it wasn't designed for him. Like, he's not voting in America, so it doesn't really matter what he believes, does it? In terms of American politics, what my uncle, who's 80 in the UK, what he believes is not pertinent. He actually thinks Joe Biden's a robot, but that's irrelevant because he's not going to vote in the next election in America. However, that guy with his horns on and those people around him, they're going to vote, aren't they? Now, you might say that in previous years they've been disenfranchised. You might say that in previous years they felt that they hadn't got anyone to represent them and that there's no point in them voting, and they might be Republican voters, but they might not have turned out. I don't know the ins and outs of American politics that deep, but what I would say is all that conspiracy stuff that went on, all that stuff, they were there storming the Capitol building on behalf of a certain Donnie Trump. That's not in question, is it? We all know that's what happened, don't we? Like, we agree with that, don't we? They were there. They went into the Capitol building with their little protest, and the reason they did it is because they support Donald Trump, his political movement. They've got these other ideas about Hillary and the devil and what have you, but they think Donald Trump's the good one. They're going to vote for Donald Trump, yeah? So all this stuff on QAnon, all this stuff, I've said it now, all this stuff that went on 4chan, whether you believe it or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is it helps this. That's what it helps. It helps Donald Trump get elected. Like, it just does. Those people vote for that. We're not going to argue with that, are we? I'm going to close all these now. It's got too many windows. That's what they voted for, yeah? They were on that team. How do you mobilise a load of people who think that politics is all lies and conspiracy? They're not even going to vote. They're disengaged with the political system. Like me. I grew up in a world where I looked at Tony Blair bombing Iraq and I said, well, hang on. Labour is supposed to be the good ones and you fucking took my money and killed a load of people with it. Turned out there weren't any weapons of mass destruction. I don't trust you. I don't trust you, man. I don't trust you. Well, these people that don't trust the government, they now trust this. Donald Trump was like, he got in on a ticket of being against drain the swamp. I'm not even part of their group. I'm not even a politician like them. Drain the swamp. But he is a politician like them because he's standing for a political office and he was in political office and he's taking the lobbying money and he's doing political decisions. He is a politician like them. I can be a goddamn American footballer. I can be a chuffing basketball star. And the minute I stand for election, I am now a politician just like them. Like it or lump it, that is what it is. Give me 20 years of wearing the suit and running the campaigns. What difference is there? So it supported and helped Donald Trump. We know that. So how did you think? Let me just ask a few questions. If we're looking at 4chan, if we're talking about 4chan, yeah? I'm not going to go on 4chan because you never know what you might see. But if we're talking about that, that's like the arsehole of the internet where anyone could post any anonymous rubbish. All the people like this, before they had that to get behind, they're all on 4chan anyway, they're there. 4chan's where they are. These people are not voting, I want them to vote for me, right? It's not the place. If you had an insider story, if you knew the secrets about the government, like if you're Edward Snowden, you're not posting to 4chan, are you? You remember WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden? Do you remember that? WikiLeaks. Do you remember him? Assange. Do you remember Julian Assange? Can't go back to America, or they'll put him in prison and try him for rape, and he's on his way back there now because we're going to send him there. Do you remember that, Julian Assange? Do you remember him? Right? Well, and all the WikiLeaks. Well, that wasn't on 4chan. The reason it wasn't on 4chan is because they wouldn't consider it to be a valid place to share it. They would think that if you shared stuff on 4chan, people are going to assume it's rubbish. It's like not valid. It tarnishes it with a kind of spurious brush. You know, it makes it harder for people to accept it might be true. It's like, you know, the worst place to publish it. So it doesn't make sense for you to have like secrets and insider knowledge for real and publish it on 4chan. That doesn't make sense. That's not 2 and 2 adding up to 4chan. That's not how that would work. The only reason you would want to publish all that stuff there, the only reason that would sit really well on that platform is because that's where these people are. These people use 4chan on the daily because they can type Hitler did nothing wrong and have a laugh about it. And then there are other people that take it a bit more seriously that get on there that don't realise it's a joke and a troll and are being trolled. But at the end of the day, as long as they all vote Trump, let's publish more of that shit. There's an office somewhere, probably not in America, probably in Nigeria or the Philippines, full of people who are paid by the right wing to publish a load of idiot stuff on the internet. They've probably got a writer or two, and they churn out all this shit. And lo and behold, it works. When it works, they do more of it. They do more of it. And why do they do it? Because he's got to win power, and he's got to win elections, and he had to win them in a different way, because he's not your normal sort of politician, is he? And he's reaching a different sort of person that isn't that interested in your normal politics. So normal politics and marketing now are infected. Oh, I see. I get it. Okay, so that's my opinion on that. You can choose to say what you like. But Adam Curtis, I remind you, Adam Curtis does a very good job of analysing these things in that way. Asking where the information comes from, and who's sharing what messages and for why, and what's going on.
Mohammed Taraki.
Our relationship with all the countries, including Soviet Union, and all our neighbors and throughout the world will be based and depend on the amount of their support to our revolutionary government in political, economical field.
And it's been going on for years. So that's where I come from. I'm not buying into a load of crap because I'm an idiot. But at the same time, I feel sometimes people take it too far. Like the 4chan stuff, I think people just take it too far and get a bit lost. It amazes me that people in other countries holding flags for American politicians. Yeah, the ideas have gone international because the internet, isn't it? But Mad Hatter. Why isn't Alan Sugar RPM? Well, yeah, that would be the equivalent, wouldn't it? We've got a slightly different system. Letting people have their focus skewed, misdirected to primary issues. Yeah, I see that. I agree with that statement. I think the problem with that statement, in terms of, you know, us all on the internet agreeing, is that whilst I agree with that, when you are misdirected, you don't know that you're being misdirected. Maybe you believe in the misdirection and you say, no, you're the one that's being misdirected. You say it to me, I'm being misdirected. But I believe in my own perceptions of the world. I mean, because I know that when I was at school and college, I was coming out with stuff and people saying, what the fuck are you on about? A bit like people say about Alex Jones. I watched a Joe Rogan interview yesterday, and he said Alex Jones was telling me about Epstein's Island 10 years ago. And I was like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, I was the person at my college saying, well, do you know about when America gave money to the Al-Qaeda? And people going, what are you on about? Don't be stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was the one with the conspiracy theories that turned out to be true, and not going as far as to say, well, I think lizard people run the world. I didn't say that. So I think there's like a border blur. And the problem with people like Alex Jones and David Icke is they probably say some stuff that's quite on the nose, but then they go too far and they say a load, like David Icke took loads of cocaine, broke his brain, said a load of stuff about lizard people, and everyone laughed at him. And now nothing he says can be taken seriously. Nothing he says. You might take him seriously, but the world at large can always point to the fact that he was on the telly talking shit and everyone was laughing at him. So Because David Icke was... David Icke, what? It's not there anymore. No, surely not.
Well,
surely that's not erased. Surely the video of him on Wogan's still there. Here it is. Telegraph. Terry Wogan's best moments. It's not, is it? It's not there. That would be weird, man. That would be weird if David Icke could manage to get that Wogan thing taken down. No, here it is.
My friends are
oh no, it's not. This is an Irish interview. This is different. That's different. Wow, it has gone. It has gone. That's bizarre to me that it's gone. Be David Icke that, we're all desperately trying to get that removed from the internet, but this is him of the same sort of era.
My friends, our next guest. David?
Yeah, let's get it right. We're all the children of God.
So, at this point, David Icke is... we're going a bit, wild now. I'm going a bit skewed, but this is a great example. David Icke was a goalkeeper for Coventry City. And Coventry City were in the top tier of English football, I think, at the time. I just want to see him pictured playing football. Actually, playing football. Where is he? Let's have an actual picture of him playing football. Why won't I get that? It's almost as if someone's going on the internet to adapt David Icke's history, isn't it? It's almost as if someone might have a, doesn't want to be remembered in this way, wants to be pictured in a different way. I think David Icke's doing that because only a couple of years ago you'd find loads more of these pictures of him playing football for Coventry. There he is. You can't see his face, but that is him playing football for Coventry. There he is. That's him playing football from the Coventry. So you're talking about someone who left school early so that they could be a sporting person. I don't know his exact, full schooling history, actually, do I? Maybe I should just check that. David Icke. Or maybe it's because I spelt it wrong. Family and education. He said he made no effort at school. When he was 9, he was in the football team. He enjoyed that. He failed his 11 plus exam. So he wasn't innately intelligent, because 11 plus exams, yes, you can train for them, but the idea was that they just test like basic intelligence. And so, he wasn't in that higher echelon of intelligence according to that exam. He went to a standard secondary modern, and he was given a trial for the under 40. He left school at 15. So I'm right, he didn't go into school, he didn't learn about the basics that you would understand of the world because you'd been to school when you were 16. He left, right? He left school at 16 and he got into playing football and goalkeeping. So he was into football and goalkeeping. It says here that arthritis stopped him making a career out of football. And at the age of 21, the pain in his joints was so severe he was forced to retire. Now, I don't know if that's true. It's possibly true, that his reason for retiring from football was pain in his joints. But what I do know is that, and I say I do know, he went to a hotel. I mean, I'm assuming he did the fucking loads of cocaine. Because people do cocaine when they think they're pretty smart, don't they, some people? And he was on the way to being pretty smart, playing for a top-tier football team like Sporting Star. It's not quite the same as it was these days. It's not quite the same as it was these days. He's not quite the superstar that you can be these days, but he was earning decent money, we'll say that, and he wasn't having to work all the time, in the same way as he wasn't going 9 to 5 work. He was earning decent money. He was in a hotel room. I think it was a away day for a football thing. He was in a hotel room, and for some reason, he went into that hotel room, normal David Icke footballer, haven't gone to school but don't really care because I enjoy football, and come out with the knowledge of the deeper universe and the lizard people. He went into this hotel room a normal person, came out all fucking... Now, I'm telling you the reason I do think he did shitloads of cocaine, right? Is because I know people who have gone into a hotel room, done shitloads of cocaine, not slept all night, come out and they're talking a load of shit. It's done something in their brain. It's done something in their brain, man. It flicks some switch in their brain. They go a bit nuts. There's a story around, there's stories, stories about people who've stayed up in the hotel room, done loads of... Well, if he's not on the hotel room for the away day for the football, if he's just gone to stay in a hotel room overnight, what's he doing? At the same time, he's having a breakdown in his marriage, I think. So he's having a breakdown in his marriage. His career is breaking down. They had to sell their home. So he's going through like a personal life breakdown, yeah, in many ways. He might not have been doing the coke. He might have just had a breakdown. I think the coke contributes. Anyway, he's gone for this breakdown. He's been in a hotel room. He's walked in normal. He's come out fucking nuts. That's the truth. We all know that's the truth. We all know he's had a breakdown. He's not like, can't do anything with his life because he never went to school. Hated school. Come from a council estate. He was skint. Never had any money. That can do stuff to you. That can, not saying people from council estates are fucking weird, but saying that, those pressures on you early when you're a kid and you live in poverty, that can do something to you. And he did well at school, got a bit of money in his pocket, and then it's all fell to shit and he's had to sell his house and he's fucking lost his marbles. But fortunately for him, it's all turned into financial success. He's on the telly now. He even sells books. So there's something in that. Has he lost his mind? Or is he just doing it for fakes to sell books? He was the Godhead. Well, listen to what he says in a minute, right? A lot of what he says, you have to accept. I don't care if you believe it, if you don't believe it, but we'll just have a little look at psychosis, right? Symptoms of psychosis. Delusions. Unshakable beliefs in something that might be untrue. You might have grandiose delusions about power or authority. You might think you're the president of the country or that you've got power to bring people back from the dead. I used to know a fella in our town who had psychosis and he thought he was the reincarnation of the god Ra. And he was quite well off actually. He was quite rich and he had a driver and he'd call his driver the Prophet Muhammad sallam. Like he'd refer to him as, and I'd like, what? And he'd be like, this is the reincarnation of this person and he drives me around. And like, it wasn't just that he thought the fucking sky was made of Fruit Loops. He thought that he was the god. Like, this is part of psychosis. Confused and disturbed thoughts. Lots, like, disturbed speech. Switching from one topic to another. High moods. Feeling elated. Talking a lot. Thinking too much. Like, these are psychosis symptoms, yeah? People often have, like, when you go through the first psychotic break, it can be like, maybe you're worse and you go through this really strange thought pattern and it disrupts your life. And then it might, die down maybe, and I don't know, like, everyone's got different experiences of psychosis, but certainly the first time you encounter a psychosis symptom like a hallucination or a delusion or a voice, it is quite big. You think, fuck. Like, so... It's almost like life-changing. Almost life-changing. Of course it's life-changing. So what I'm saying is if someone's having a breakdown in their life, if they've had a breakdown in their, like, oh my God, my knees are fucked and I'm not going to be able to play football anymore and my marriage is fucking it and I've had to sell my house, I'm in the hotel room. Like, these are really stressful times, especially if you come from a life of poverty and you don't want to go back there. Maybe you do a little coke, maybe you don't. Maybe that's my own, conjecture, but whatever, right, let's hear what happened to him, because from that we haven't got the Wogan interview anymore. We've just got this one for some reason, which is well weird. I don't know where the Wogan interview's gone. That should really be up here. That should be part of the public record. But he went on, he didn't just go on one place, he went talking about this and that became the rest of his life. So, but it's weird to us that it's one day to the next. It's last week, ask me a question about football, I'll tell you about my knees. The next week it's fucking this and that.
Good to see you. You do claim to be the son of God, David?
Yeah, let's get it right. We're all the children of God. We're all created by God. We're created by the thoughts of God. When we think, we create an energy field. When we think thoughts of love, forgiveness, and peace, and all the things we want to bring to the world, we create a certain kind of very positive energy. When we think thoughts of hate, of all these other emotions, of anger, of fear, we create another kind of energy, a very destructive one, which, if it's in big enough quantities, destroys the very life force of creation, which comes from the being some call God. The name I'm given is the Godhead. Now, if we can create by thought, what can the Godhead do? This master spirit at the center of all creation.
So already, these are not the sort of normal things that normal people in day-to-day life start talking about. You might talk about this in deep religious philosophy, but we haven't really got any evidence of these energy fields or anything, and he's certainly quite serious and certain of it. This is evidence of psychosis.
He can create almost anything he wishes by thought, and he creates us by thought.
But do you claim to be the Son of God? Because Terry Wogan said to you on the Wogan Show, you claim to be the Son of God, and you said yes.
Well,
on the Wogan Show, he was in more of a mania, and you notice here he's a little more relaxed. That might be because of the drugs he was taking, or it might be because of the manic aspects of psychosis.
I am, yes, I'm saying that. What I'm saying is we're all the children of God.
And he's modified what he said because everyone laughed at him on Wogan.
But some people come to earth, Jesus was one, there were many more before him, who are actually part of the soul of the Godhead. It's God incarnate on earth. That's what Jesus was, that's what these other people were before. To try to bring the truth to a planet that has lost that truth for 12,000 years, and as a result of which we have taken this wondrous planet to the brink of not existence.
Jesus said, I and the Father are one.
And it's interesting because this is happening. Sorry, I've turned that up a bit loud there. This is happening in a Irish studio, and in Ireland, their television, their programming, being a Catholic country, when it's concerned with religion, takes on a slightly different conversation.
Mm-hmm. That means he was the Son of God. Are you claiming that too? You and the Father are one?
We're all one with the Father.
No.
Oh, yes, we are. We're all one with the Father. What I'm saying is that if I, as others were before him, an aspect, part of the soul of the Godhead, then these beings are the Godhead incarnate.
Then we are all sons of God and children of God in that way.
Well,
but are you special?
No one's special.
But have you been singled out?
The message that comes across all the time is the Godhead loves all of us as if there was only one of us. No one is special.
This is a bit different from what he was saying on Wogan. On Wogan, he also said there were lizard people. Maybe that's why it's been taken down. And you know, when you're talking about psychosis and things, delusions and those sort of aspects, not maintaining enough to maintain a smooth stream for some reason. Should be back now, shouldn't we? Streaming nice. Thank you. You have a certain belief in Ike's delivery is a bit squiffy. The Russians have the technology to see the fields, maybe. I mean, you can have opinions. Like, he's gone on with this now for the rest of his life. He hasn't stopped just doing this. He's gone on with this for the rest of his life. But where is the fucking Terry Wogan one, man? It's annoying me that we can't find the Terry Wogan one. See if we can find some of it. But what happened with Ike as well? That you got to what you got to understand is that
just have discovered that.
What we should all accept, I should say, that, you know, I don't want to argue back and forth about certain aspects that you might believe, I might believe, but we can all find common ground on, is that he had fucked up his life. Like, at the point when he was doing this interview for the first time on the telly with Terry Wogan and with that Irish bloke, he had fucked up his life. Like, the reason he's wearing a tracksuit here and not... What the fuck's going on now? Fuck off. The reason he's wearing a tracksuit and not some, you know, suit like you would see him in today is because back then he was an 80s goalkeeper. Like, he's coming from a different perspective. He's lost all his money. His wife's about to leave him. He hasn't got a job. He's fucked it. And he's gone on the telly. They've had him on to talk this shit. And the knock-on effect is, whether you believe it or not, some people have bought into it and bought one of his books. He's suddenly found an income stream. Now, if you're in that shit house, you've gone from... You remember he said, I come from poverty and I'm not going back there. Like, to say we came from poverty was like saying the North Pole was cold, is what he said. He's got a different perspective on life. He will do anything it takes to make sure he's earning that money that he's used to. Because that house that he got, it's not a small house. When you're the footballer and you're getting the wage and, you know, it's not a small house. All of a sudden, he's got to go back to living in a council house. Fuck that, man. Anything I can do. Anything I can do. Maybe he believes this, maybe he doesn't. There's a problem. He's got a financial interest. You talk about these... like, we talk about the bigger things, you know, the politicians, the big pharma or whatever, you know, their interests. This guy's got a personal interest, make as much money as possible, because at the moment he's got no income. So I just want to see what he's saying on Wogan, see if we can get some of it.
Evil's not the right word, it is imbalance. But it has been increasingly in control every day.
Was it a great shock for you to discover this at 38?
Well, I think
See the way Wogan's laughing at him, because we know that he went, like, it's like a switch flipped. He didn't, like, spend time learning this and detailing this, and one day he was this washed up goalkeeper, the next day he was, like, suddenly imbued with the knowledge of the gods. So they're laughing at him, like...
I think the word is gobsmacked. But again, you know, the best way of removing negativity is to laugh and be joyous. So I'm delighted that there's so much laughter in the audience tonight.
But no, it's a...
But just let me say this.
They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you. Fine. That interview at the time, it changed everything for you, didn't it?
Well, it changed everything in the sense of I couldn't walk down any street in Britain without being laughed at by most of the people.
See what I mean? It changed everything. He couldn't walk down the street without being laughed at by most of the people, but at least they knew him. Like, at that point, he's in this situation. He's gone on telly. He's talked a load of shit. You might believe it these days. No one back then thought, like... And it wasn't like you saying Jeffrey Epstein's got an island. He was saying the Queen's a lizard. And, like, I'm the Godhead, and I can change the world through my thought field energy. So, like, people back then thought he was a fucking nutter. But he was famous. And look at his confused face. Like, he had to deal with that. You had to say, right, these are the cards on the table. I've gone on telly and I've said all this shit. Like, do I really believe it? I don't know. I might have been having a psychotic break. Maybe when I start taking the tablets, I'll feel better. Who knows? Some people go that way. Some people go a different way. Do I write a book about it? Do I go down this road? Like, even if I don't believe it, maybe I have to use it because it's my thing now. Like, if, for example, if I was lucky enough to go viral on one of these videos that we make on YouTube, like, our channel, what I do, your channel, at the moment is varied, isn't it? It's varied. So let's say, for example, I go just picking the one in the middle, prison cell cooking. Let's say that suddenly went viral and everyone was watching my prison cell cooking video. Then I might have to make that prison cell recipe and do another video, eh? Might be a good idea, wouldn't it? And let's say I do a prison cell recipe and it goes really well and everyone loves it. Then I might get, like, I don't know, like Darren G in to come and do a podcast and tell me all about the food he ate when he was in prison. And then that goes well, and, like, then all of a sudden I'm a fucking prison cooking channel, yeah? Like, sometimes you have to go with the flow. I don't necessarily feel like I want to in that aspect, but I'm sure that someone like David Icke, where's he gone now? Where's my David Icke? I'm sure someone like David Icke, in the position he was in, would have to suddenly say, like, I'll accept it then. Like, if this is what everyone's saying about me and this is where we're at, I'll go and talk to my agent, and you know, if the agent says write a book about it, I'll write the book about it. Like, the agent's taking 10%. At the moment, they're taking 10% of fuck nothing because I'm not working properly. But they took 10% of that Wogan interview, and now they want me on Irish television. 10% of that. The agent's got me going doing it. Maybe I'll do that. Like, I don't know if he believes it or not. I can't know, but I certainly know that his route into it was fucking weird, and it could be better explained through mental illness, psychosis, drug use, and a collapsing of his life.
I couldn't walk down any street in Britain without being laughed at by most of the people. We laugh at sheep because...
We don't laugh at sheep.
Sheep just follow the one in front. Ah, stupid sheep.
We don't laugh at sheep for just following the sheep. And we're not sheep because we're humans.
We humans have out-sheep the sheep.
Well, no, it's not just following. You see, he looks really... This is this look on his face as well of like, that you see in psychotic patients, like this like extreme stress and like he's worn the world on his face here. We're not like sheep. Like we all think for ourselves, and that the reason that we tend to follow similar ideas is because they make sense, not just common sense, but because we can follow the science behind it. We build our science on the shoulders of giants insofar as I don't have to work out how electricity works. I can read what someone else worked out and then follow that and say, all right, that works, it's valid, I can recreate it in the lab. Okay, let's go and move on from that. Like, it just... I see what he's saying in a way, but I was like that myself, remember? I was zeitgeist. I was, you know, not going to believe just what I was told.
Because at least the sheep need a sheepdog to keep them in line. Humans keep each other in line. And they do it by ridiculing or condemning anyone who commits the crime, because that's what it's become, of being different. See?
No, that's not entirely true. See, that's not entirely true. Because you've got him saying that, right? But you've also got, like, let me just take Andy Warhol. I'll just take a few people. Andy Warhol, 1966.
Win at work by communicating...
Shut up, this woman. I hate these adverts, man. Right, Andy Warhol.
Earlier, you said casually, since I don't believe in painting anymore.
Why? I don't believe in painting because I hate objects, and I hate to go to museums and see pictures on the wall because they look so important and they don't really mean anything.
So Andy Warhol used to keep his hand on his mouth like this in interviews, and he had quite an outrageous hairstyle at the time, bright blonde, bit of a wedge, wore sunglasses, dark clothes. Like, he was a bit of an odd one.
They are, I think. And does it matter to you that this is so, that they feel one way rather than another?
And like, rather than reject him, society held his work up in such high regard that it became the most famous, most popular, most talked about. Like Andy Warhol wasn't laughed at by society for committing the crime of being different. David Bowie was propelled for committing the crime of being different. David Bowie was propelled from playing pub shows and, you know, gigs in little gig halls, like little gigs. He was propelled from that to being mainstream, top of the pops. For committing the crime of being different, he was interesting, intriguing, and held in high regard. Like what David Icke said there was wrong, categoric wrong, but it made sense to him because of his life experience and the things he's been through. I've lost him now. I've lost David Icke. He's gone. All right, he's gone. It's not a show about David Icke anyway, but like, I think I've made my point there about what I think of David Icke and his rubbish. Yeah. Should we try and get... I don't know how that happened, and we got off space. We got away from space. Going right back to where we're supposed to be then. These are the photographs from space that I think are quite cool. And the comment that I got... We've been on for nearly 2 hours, so... you're having a chat to each other in chats, that's fine. The comment said, they're clearly fake. The one behind the ball looks like desktop wallpaper. And I said that the photographs look like desktop wallpaper because loads of people use these sort of photographs for their desktop wallpaper. The one behind the ball. What we're saying is these ones. As the moon sets below Earth's horizon, the atmosphere refracts or bends its light, making it appear flatter. They've got a punctuation error here, making it appear flatter in this photograph taken from the International Space Station. So they're saying this is a photograph. Now, it is digitally reproduced. The photograph would have been taken through digital camera technology, and this will have then been sent to Earth. When I say sent to Earth, it might have come down on a memory stick, or they might have sent it as digital information through the air. Magic. There's no air. Maybe they didn't. They sent it to Earth, and then they've got that image out the camera, and they've blown it up, shrunk it, resized it, put it on the website. I don't, you see, it's one of those Amber Heard things, isn't it? We need the metadata. Have they resized it and just squashed it? Is that why the Earth looks squashed? Sorry, the moon looks squashed. Or is it the refraction of the light? I'll tell you what I can see. I can see all those artifacts that I was talking about before, those cubes. All around this blue gradient. And right here, I'm in the way. I'm going to have to move my face on the other side. Let's flip me. Give me the old flip. View. Edit. Transform. Horizontal. Appropriate. Right, so see over this side over here. I haven't got my mouse visible on screen. Over the other side. I'll move and point to it. There, you see that? Do you see that? That right there? Now, they could fake that. They could just draw that on in Photoshop. So, it's no guarantee. But what that looks like is a little tiny bit of something on the lens. Or between the lens and the sensor. If you're taking a photograph with a camera and you put your finger on it, you see your finger. If you've got a little tiny bit of dust or a scratch, maybe, or a chip, you might not even see it with the naked eye, a chip or a scratch on the lens. Certainly you'd have to hold it in the right light. But you'd see something like that on the photograph, a little mark like that. I mean, it could be a fucking UFO or some shit, couldn't it? But you'd see that. It'd look like that. And then your digital photography wouldn't have... You see how it's a different kind of artifact that is? That little thing that I pointed out. That there is different from the sort of blocky, cubey problem that we've got going on here. Blocky and cubey. Because the refraction of light and the gradient is so detailed and fine, the camera can't work that shit out. It's like, hang on, I think these pixels are this and I think they're that. And then you've got the JPEG compression. I don't know whether they've used JPEG or PNG or whatever, but you've got those sort of problems with data transfer and the way it's rendered up. So that would explain all that. And it would seem much more like it's a real photo if you also have, I mean, maybe they're just faking this. Maybe they're faking it, but if you've also got that on the lens, you've got two kinds of photographic imperfection here that I can achieve by getting my camera with a cracked lens, going out and taking some photos of a... God help me, what happens on Twitter now? I follow some people on Twitter, right, and they are right chuffers, so when I open up Twitter, I hope their stuff doesn't come up because it could be something really bad. When I say bad, it could be boobs or anything. Let's just look at me. Let's look at my... Thank you. I'll tell the truth. I went through a little... Like, do you remember I'd make documentaries, right? I was interested... It's going to sound awful. I was interested in cam girls who sell their sex online. So, you know, I was interested in maybe talking to a couple of them and not making a film about them with the boobies out, but, you know, talking to them in interviews. So I followed a couple and asked them a couple of questions, and then I can't remember who I'm following now, but I've got some of them. I don't know who it is. You know, sometimes on my newsfeed, someone will be like, oh, look, here's some pictures of my boobies, and I think, fucking hell, why are you doing that? And I'll go, oh, right, they're one of those cam girls, that's why. When I see them, I unfollow them these days, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I post stuff on here. Why am I here on my own Twitter? Because this picture. See this picture? Took this on the mobile phone. It's good, it's good. In the middle, there's a rabbit there, right in the middle. That's a rabbit. Now you can't see the rabbit because it just looks like squares and pixels. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you can see here in this green, you can't see individual leaves and grass. You can see the camera thinking, what the fuck is that? And it's just like the grey line of the fence, barbed wire, very clearly a different colour. Put those in. This green mess, some pixels this colour, some pixels that colour, I reckon. And then I put it on Twitter and it uploads it to Twitter. And then Twitter have to, like, you know, put it on their server and there's compression artifact. That's that, isn't it? So same sort of thing. Same sort of thing as that. So I could make this picture, I can make these artifacts, these digital artifacts happen on the picture. I can make those analog artifacts happen on the picture. I've got my mouse here now again. Whee! I can make those happen. So I'm happy that's photography. I'm saying if it's digital CGI, you don't get that. You certainly don't accidentally put a fucking scratch on your lens. Unless you really want to make it look like photography and you're thinking 2 steps ahead. You know, could be that. And you wouldn't get these compressions. Maybe you would if you took a really sharp digital image, CGI, and then put it through compression to make it look like a JPEG. Maybe you could do that. But when you create it in CGI, you won't get that. You just won't. You know, it'll do it better than that. It won't have those artifacts. I've said that enough times now, so I think I'm happy with saying that. So that's why I veer on the side of, I think this is an actual photograph. It's got all the hallmarks of being an actual photograph. I might be wrong though, couldn't I? I could be wrong. I think these are the ones that maybe look like backgrounds. Again, that's full of, oh, it's got so many effects that are definitely, I forget whether it's the earth or anything. You've got lens, like, that's a photograph of a light source because you've got lensing flare. These light rays you can see. And these bokeh balls, these, like, literally reflections back on the other side of the lens, reflected back again. There's so many effects there that you get from actual photography, lenses and cameras. But then the sensors, the digital, you got all that there as well. You got all the squares and the pixels and the digitization. Again, it wouldn't look like that if it was CGI. It would look different. It would look like CGI. So either they're making CGI to deliberately look like photos, in which case you can say it's CGI, but only by, you know, you can say, oh, this looks like CGI because it's cut out and stuck on green screen. Okay, that's what it looks like, because the lighting is so... The reason you think that is because when I do a green screen and I light me different to my background, and I do light me different to my background, look, watch this. Like, I'm obviously green screen against this background because I'm lit so differently. So differently lit. Yeah? So's that. That's the problem, is that this is differently lit because the earth is a reflection of the sun's light. That's the sun's light hitting the earth and reflecting back. And then in space, you've got fucking none of that. It's really dark. So a camera has to see things that are really dark and really bright. And what we're really taking a picture of is this thing in the middle, the space station, the space freighter. And we're trying to get the light balance for the freighter right. So you've blown the earth out completely. That's too bright. And the dark is dark. But we've got the sun shining on this, and it's shining on this, like, we're up in space, there's nothing in the way, it's just shining on it, so it's going to be really fucking bright. And you can see where it is bright, where it's hitting it, the sunlight. Maybe some of this is in shadow of itself, maybe the sun's like over there, sorry, over, I can't point properly on the computer, over there, and like, so you got this picture, and you adjust the white balance and the brightness levels of your photograph for the photo you're taking of this thing, and the background looks like the lighting's completely different. Because from this distance from the earth, the amount of light reflected, and like if it was CGI, the earth would look right. The earth wouldn't look so bright because you wouldn't have that problem of the amount of light getting to the sensor during the amount of time you're taking the photo. It's basic photography. How much light gets to the sensor denotes how much of the image is bright. And because so much light is getting to the sensor from that earth, and less light comparatively from this thing close up, it's just how it works, isn't it? So it looks like CGI, I can see that, because it looks like green screen because of those differences in what's close to us and the way that's lit, and what's far away and the way that's lit. On a green screen, what's close to you is very, very much me, close, and everything else is behind me. But it's not far, far behind me. Like, if I turn off the green screen, it's not far, far behind me. Like, my wall is over here. I can touch it. Yeah. There's a radiator, I can touch that. It's not far, far behind me. But on these photos, like the Earth is fucking miles away. So the difference in the lighting is quite drastic, and it seems like this thing is like stuck on top. Of course, with this, like, so you could say that looks like CGI because all those images look sharp. You know, it looks like a pic. They haven't fucked up the. There's no graphical artifacts on this photograph because you're quite close to it and you're photographing it. No problem. There's a few more graphical artifacts on the edge of the Earth. A few more of those compression marks, but on the same, from the same camera, you could say, probably, possibly, you've got a different, completely set of art. They've got, you know, it's creating all this lens flaring and all this, and it's not, with CGI, you wouldn't get all that rubbish in the middle. Those pixels would be the right colour. Because you just colour them the right fucking colour, wouldn't you? Your rays would be nice and sharp. Your random bit of the way this around these edges, it's broken and square because of the. I've said it so many times now. I've said it enough. I'm not saying it anymore. You're chatting in chat. You're all right. Okay, good. Space, the final frontier. I tell you what, there's one other thing I wanted to see before we go, because I do really love, I've got a VR headset. Why have I got a caps lock on then? VR space station mission ISS. So this is somebody else wearing the VR headset showing us what I look at when I'm in mission ISS. I play this quite a lot. I'm going to mute them because I just want the images. But Gene Harm, thank you very much, Gene Harm. I'm reacting to your video, and you know, throw Gene Harm a subscription if you fancy it. This is the game that I play an awful lot of. He's outside the ship at the moment, and this is CGI. Like, this is a VR game that I play. It is CGI. Losing the kilobytes a bit, losing the will to live when the kilobytes drop like that, but hey, you can see a big difference. Got it rolling in 1080p, have I? Please, thank you. If I just pause it at any point, that compression, even though this has been seen on a VR headset, recorded and uploaded to YouTube. What's going on now? Where did it go? My internet's playing me up now. And we are coming to the end of the broadcast, so don't worry about the internet playing me up. It will just play me up a little bit, and I'll just put up with it. What we don't see, though, and if you want to take a look at these videos yourself from the Oculus VR Space Station tour, then you don't see a lot of... Don't see a lot of anything there at the moment. Don't see a lot of those compression artifacts. Because they've rendered these things in a computer CGI. Look how the Earth is the same brightness that we need it to be to see it as the spaceship. That was impossible on the photograph. On the... Like, you can dock to the photograph and make things look better. It's not impossible, actually, is it? Look, not impossible. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it's not impossible. It's about angles here. It's about the angle we're facing. But you certainly get photographs where the light... Like when you see it from these angles, when you're not looking down onto the Earth, where the Earth is not therefore the background. And maybe, you know, that image has not been post-processed and the other one has, I don't know. But we're getting this problem with brightness because the Earth's so bright. But when you play a game and you're programming it and rendering it when it's actually CGI, you don't have that problem because you just tell it to be bright, the right brightness that you can see properly. So we've got no problems with brightness here. And we're messing about and the Earth's down there, and we're up in space. You can actually see some of the stars because they wanted you to have some, or is that the moon over there? I think it's the stars, because they want you to have something to look at in space. They don't want it to be completely black. So the rendering is different to the, and this is interior. I love doing this. I've actually spent, I mean, I'm revealing myself not to be a space nerd, but, you know, when I was a kid I was interested, but I'm not one of those, you know, I didn't have pictures of rockets on my walls, and, you know, I'm not a space nerd, but I do fucking love this stuff. I spend time in here, and it's weird for me because in a way, like, I do this in VR so I can look around and stuff. In a way, I'm isolated, and VR is about being anywhere you want to be in the world, isn't it? And I'm actually in a very small cabin, but there's one pod where you can look down on the Earth. And this is CGI, bear in mind. This is all CGI. So this is not exactly as it looks when you're on board. And when you see the images of being on board, they look a lot more real compared to the CGI that I'm used to. And okay, my Oculus Quest is not the best CGI in the world, but they are making CGI space, and I have been playing it. People are interested in it. You've got space nerds. They really want good CGI space. So it's not just films, it's actually VR. And it would have to be VR, not just films, for what we're talking about. Because if we're faking it, then the cameras and the, you know, the things that happen in a 3D space. This isn't just a 2D film that we've done, you know, on the, this is like, someone can move the camera around. So we've got the space tour. This is, I just love sitting in this room. I sit in this room in my VR headset, and I look down on the Earth, and I sometimes sit there for like 40 minutes just chilling. This is like my meditation time. I don't sit and meditate very often, but I find this meditative. Just with my headset on, just looking at the Earth from space. So that's really interesting. But I tell you, look, it's not glitching and artifacting in the same way as the videos. It's different. I don't know if that counts as evidence, or I don't think it does count as evidence or proof that I use VR and that I like it. But if you did and had a look at it, and here you can have a look at it, you might see that it looks different. And if they're different, I'm questioning why this technology is not the same as this technology. Or this technology. Because, like, if you can make this, I'll tell you something, right? I'll tell you something. If you can make that and fake that, yeah, if you can make that and fake that on computers, you're one step away from being the richest game developer in the world. Because 3D CGI like this, even at this, you know, badly pixelated, recompressed, this is the third time it's being compressed that you're watching it through my channel. Do you know what I'm saying? They've took it, they put it on their channel, they put it on the news, then the news have took it and put it, you're watching this like, it's like a VHS that's been recorded 10 times. But if they can do this, even at that level of detail, that's better than most space games that I've ever come up against. That would be considered a technical masterpiece. Maybe, you know, you're saying about CGI in films being really good. Yeah. But you got to see that this is pretty fucking good for CGI. Isn't it? It might not be like what you expect to see on films maybe, but there's a lot of detail going on here in a lot of different places. Obviously this is a false zoom. They've just cropped in, so now we're looking at this instead of at 1080p, we're looking at it 480p because they've zoomed it. I can't help that. But like, it's still really good, isn't it, for CGI? And like, you'd be better off, I don't know how much money the Chinese government are paying you, and why, you know, in all these other forms of CGI, someone discovers something, then everyone else is using it, and then we get all the games with it. And why are they keeping this under their hats? Why only NASA and the Chinese space people? Because all the space people can do it. NASA and the Chinese separate, the Russian, they can all do this on CGI, you're saying, but the people who develop games that are trying their hardest to get, they're not allowed to have this technology. They can't do this. Like Unreal Engine 5 that's just come out, we're well impressed with it. But I don't think it can do that, even at like 720p. So, there you go. That's my thoughts on it. I think I've made some interesting points. I think I've made some nice thoughts. You don't have to agree. No one has to agree. You know, you can never go to space. You got sick on the Dover to Calais ferry. Tell you what, I used to get really sick on VR at the very start. Scott's top tips, just as a... I'm not shilling for VR because I don't have an iron in this fire. If anything, I don't like the idea that Facebook are using my data, but they're mainly using my data to see about improving virtual reality games, because the only thing I do on it is virtual reality games. So, like, the fact that I have to use my Facebook account and they're measuring my data doesn't worry me that much. That's Zuckerberg using it, isn't it? That's a great... Oh, it's tiny. It's tiny, just like Mark Zuckerberg's. Anyway, the tools size large. That's tiny. Well, I just said tool size large, and it did me a small one. So that's not fair, is it? Basically, you can buy these days for 300 quid, right? Which isn't bank-breaking money, and it's about the same price as a console. And when I was growing up, this was the absolute dream. Like, this was the you know, the be-all and end-all of what you possibly could do. Wow. I've said this before on stream, I'll say it again. Build me a Borg. Craig Charles, build me a Borg. When I was growing up, this was the height of it.
Laziness. I don't know how you got your MBE. Anyway, who's going to be the runner? Who's going to be the guide?
I'm going to be the runner, and I'm going to be the guide.
Woo! Come with me. Thess, you lovey. Can you build me a Borg, please?
Borg morphing now.
Well, what a creation. Your best yet, Thesp. Can you define this game for us, then?
Certainly. I return to the Citadel, city of the should you do
the game? Your task is to use the buggy to trap the other team in any of the buildings in this zone. You can do it.
Bear in mind, when I was watching this, I was like, oh my fucking god. I was playing on a NES, or a SNES, so it wasn't much better on my TV screen what I was playing on at home. But this, oh my god, it's 3D. They're in the game.
By ramming move, because position. It's your job.
Look at her. She's on that machine. She's controlling it.
Explore the zone. Go into the rooms. Solve the puzzles. Ability station. You become one with your Borg. When you walk, your Borg will walk through the zone. When you run, it runs with you. Want to interact with objects and puzzles? This is what you use. The two buttons are colour and shape coded to targets within each puzzle room.
Right. But, you know...
Straight in, straight in.
Straight into that door. Well done.
Yeah, straight in, straight in.
Straight in, go on.
Slow down. Slowly, slowly. 1, 2, 3, slowly. Stop. 90 right. Stop. No, center. Straight in.
Look at that. Look at that. So I was amazed by that. I was thinking, and I was watching, I was looking at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and things and thinking, oh, I'd have virtual reality when I grow up. Anyway, I've got virtual reality now I'm grown up. I'm very pleased with it for 300 quid. Yes, you have to accept that this company are going to be using your data. What they know about me is when I turn it on, what games I'm playing, how often I'm playing them, how much money I spend on the games, and that's it, because I don't use it for my internet browsing and my other stuff I do. I'll go on this space station. They know that, but then, you know, so what? They can have that information. I don't care. Like, big picture, I've got VR. I'm happy with it. There are some drawbacks. Don't get me wrong, and I'm sure some people in our stream will see that as a huge drawback. But I would advise anyone to grab hold of one of these and find a little something. It doesn't have to be, there's lots of different games and experiences, and yes, you have to buy games separately. You know, it's not just 300 quid. You're then spending money on games, but they're not that wide and varied. There's not like a huge catalogue, but there's a big enough catalogue to find something you enjoy, and people are bringing out more and more stuff all the time, and there's other experiences and things, like I say. So for me, this Mission ISS is exactly what my telly was made for. Like, I've got a VR headset and I'm not playing a game against anyone, I'm just chilling in it, I'm just living in it, and I happen to be up in space, so I fucking love that. I fucking love it. Talking about travel sickness, the best thing for it is ginger. Sound like a loop. Seems to work for me. You get these ginger capsules, vegan. Look, ginger capsules. You eat your ginger, you have one of them a day, and it just really helps travel sickness. It's a good tip if anyone's going traveling anywhere and they get travel sickness. Do that for a week or two before you go. Keep doing it on the travel sickness. Eat your ginger, it's good for you. And I found that it helped with my VR sickness. You do get VR motion sickness. You're used to seeing the world move in certain ways, and then you get in VR and you can get the controller and spin the world around yourself, and you're like, fucking hell, take this off my head immediately. The top tips for VR is take your ginger, do it in small bursts. Go on VR in small bursts. Like, do it in 15-minute things, build up to it. And the final point is a really top tip, and this isn't anything to do with what we're doing today, I'm just saying it, but the final top tip is that in games you can move. You're so used to using your controller, got a controller here, you'll be able to see it. You're so used to doing this to move around, like to move your head around and move around. Yeah, that's what they're for. So in VR you've got your controller things, and you're so used to just twiddling those thumbs to move around, but you don't have to. You're in VR. You can turn around. You can move your head. And if you don't move your head and you move your thumbs, suddenly the world around you is moving and it makes you feel sick. You've just got to get used to controlling things a bit differently. Moving your head. Moving your head. And the final tip is move your feet as well. Even if you are on a chair. If you wiggle your feet like that, like you're walking, like I'm doing now, when I'm moving in VR, my body thinks, well, I'm moving at least, so no wonder I'm moving my vision. If I don't do that and I start flying around in VR, my body's like, hang on, I'm definitely not moving, but I think I'm moving. So there's some top tips from Scotty Zuckerberg himself. Is Oculus the VR to buy? I think at the moment, I think in 10 years time, no. But what items like this do you have that are 10 years old that are still, you know, your current item? It'll be like a VHS recorder or something. It'll be like a DVD player. It might not be the test of time item. But my computer can always run VR into that headset at a 144p rate. You know, you can get better headsets, wider fields of view. You'll get better headsets, crispier graphics. You'll get smaller ones. But in the next 10 years, I'll be able to use that for VR for, you know, at least 10 years, even if it's a crap version of VR compared to what everyone else is doing. Your latest VR glasses are going to look different, but they're going to be really expensive. You can even, the next generation are going to be like an actual pair of glasses, maybe. Much thinner. Much smaller, much lighter. Yeah, with a wider field of view. Yeah, I'm going to want one of them. They'll be really expensive when they come out. But until then, I've got VR right now, and I'm living in the future, and it's fucking brilliant. I'll tell you what's another good reason for it, is for 300 quid. Like, the Vive Pro 2 is 700 quid. But the Meta one is like entry level, accessible. I'm not doing this. You know, I'm not doing this. I think leave that another 10 years before that gets consumer level. $4,000 for one of them. I'm not doing that. But, you know, if you can afford a second telly in your house, then you can afford a VR headset these days. And like these are new gen as well, these sort of things. They're not even out yet, so I don't know how they're selling them on eBay, but yeah, they'll improve. You know, they're not future proof, but The bottom line is, for now, right now, you can get into VR, you can have a lot of fun. Like I said, it's not all life change. It's quite life changing when you've never been in VR before. But the games, Oculus games library. I shouldn't put Oculus anymore, should I? I should put something else. But the game, there's a limited number of Oculus games. So you probably want to look on the Rift store at what experiences and games are available and say to yourself, do I enjoy that offering? I don't want to accept cookies. I want to not accept cookies. That's the whole point. Anyway, forget it. But like, just being in VR is so magnificent, so awesome. You find that there is something for you there. And whether I don't really like the boxing game, even though I like boxing, because there's no connection. I'm not actually punching anything. And when they punch me, there's no connection, so I don't like it. But other games, and there's lots of different things here. Look, these are all games. There are also things like guided meditation VR. There are things like, traveling the world like we do on our aeroplane. There's all sorts of experiences as well. And you can watch YouTube on VR. You end up using it for watching films, maybe. Everyone's got a different reason for popping that headset on and having fun in there. But you don't have to just be doing fun or experiences. And they're not going to show, it's all games that they're showing me. It's weird to say this, but like, you might want to watch your telly in a virtual space, because then it's a great big massive telly and it's like going to the cinema. You can work collaboratively. Obviously I'm not going to be bothered about doing that, but you can go into workrooms and stuff. I go into space. But I think there's enough interesting stuff on here that fitness is another big one that they do. There's a lot of fitness-based apps and things. Think about it like apps. That's the better way to say. You know how apps are on your phone, and at first you'd like, I don't need apps for anything. I just make calls on my phone. And now you're on the fucking, what time is it in New York app or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You've got a funny app that you didn't realise you'd ever have, and now you've got one. Well, they've got those sort of apps on there as well that you think, oh, I might as well download that, and then you're in space for fucking 40 minutes enjoying yourself. It's really cool. It's really cool. So anyway, yeah, that's my experience as an astronaut. Sorry, I feel myself belching on camera there. I was just allowing my tea to repeat on me. I was trying to hold it down, but it came up through my chest. So, going to the C2. Yeah, there's another good example. Going to the C2. And if I just do VR videos on YouTube, it's a growing area. I'm going to want to get a VR camera at some point and do some VR stuff. It's really different because when you're recording in VR, the person that's watching it is the cameraman. They're camera person. They're looking around. They're choosing where to look. You're just putting the VR camera in the space. So there's some really cool, interesting VR videos on YouTube of loads of different stuff, and you can spend some time just watching that as well. Like going around the world like this. Not this. This is an advert. You know how I like to go around in the plane? There's a lot of this. This looks rubbish because obviously when you move, like, I'm able to drag and drop now. Like, I'm looking on, when you go on Google Earth, it's a bit like a Google Earth video. Look, it's live. It's a video. And I'm in this place and I can move instead of moving the mouse and dragging it around like this, I just look around. I'm just there. I like these things more than anything. They only do little 3 minutes here and 3 minutes there at the moment. But I think in the longer run, people like ASMR, people have started to make, VR videos. I think I'd quite like to make a channel where I just go to somewhere, set up the camera in the same way as I used to do with my dummy head. A lot of binaural sound is being used here as well. And, binaural sound, VR video, and you just use your own head to look around. You look around where you want. It really feels like you're there. Much more than you could imagine it would, even though it's not perfect 1080p 4K on the Oculus whatever or what have you, squint a bit. Look, this video's got loads of compression on it, you can see, because it's early days of recording VR. You have to accept it's going to have less quality, image quality, but it's 4K VR on the internet, so like YouTube's compression plus the artifacts mean that sometimes some of these videos look a bit rough. And that's funny because that's what we were talking about today, about space, wasn't it? About space and CGI. Like, this isn't CGI, is it? We know this isn't CGI, this is real life. But when you put your virtual reality headset on, you are watching it created through CGI. It's cool though, it's cool as fuck. Very meditative, I find, very meditative. And I don't like going out. I don't want to go here and walk around where all the people are, but I'm quite happy to look at it through my headset. Quite often with these videos as well, you see the people who are in the, like, there's somebody talking to you, look, I wasn't even looking at him, but you see the people who leave the camera on sitting somewhere, and they're always in the video because they keep an eye on their camera, and the camera's keeping an eye on them, effectively. Little flashing light there that probably isn't flashing, it's probably the refresh rate of this camera. That's another reason you can tell this might be a real thing. It's touring around Venice. It's cool, isn't it? HoloSync was your first binaural experience. Don't really know what HoloSync is. I used to make binaural videos on ASMR. I got a binaural dummy. I made my own binaural dummy head, and binaural beats. Right, I made binaural beats as well, and I'm convinced that people stole my best binaural beats because I uploaded them as like a, here they are. Why don't you use them? Check this out. True binaural ASMR and binaural beat. Maybe I don't find them anymore. Maybe I took them down. No, here they are, look. Binaural beat, 45 hertz to 0 hertz, deep drop for meditation. I used Reason. Do you remember I've got this computer program, which I can show you quickly here. I got this, and I use one of these to create a sine wave, and then I literally just change the we can shift the octave, the semi, and the cent. We can just make tiny differences in the sine wave, and we can run two sine waves next to each other, the same sine waves, with one of them just slightly tweaked, and that's creating my binaural beats. I use maths. Don't change that. Don't save that. Just get rid of that. Thank you. I use maths to do it so that it is exactly what I say it is. So I did one that was the exact delta wave, and I've took it off there now. It's not there anymore because people were just ripping it and putting it in their videos. This is an hour and 20 minutes of the binaural beat from 45 hertz to 0 hertz. Exactly. Exactly. Like, this is...
Drink enough water each and every day.
Shut up, you. So I don't think I've monetized this one. It's got an advert on it, so... Like, this is a perfect binaural beat. When I say perfect, it's doing that. It's doing that. And it's just that. And so that moves through all your brainwave patterns to basically brain death. What it actually does, in the end, there is a 0 hertz difference, so there is no difference, it's just tone. So it kind of, or maybe it's super different. No, I think this is going to become a pulse, become a tone. Anyway, the point is that I did it mathematically and with the thing. I know that's a very good one, and I put them up there on the internet with no images, just that. I mean, they've had some views, but now you get a whole world. How old was that? That was 8 years ago, so I'm not the first person to do it on the internet, but the binaural beats community, whoever's pumping out binaural beats on the internet, I guarantee someone's had that perfect binaural beat that I've made and just whacked it underneath their video somewhere. I bet they have. I bet they have. I wouldn't be able to tell. I wouldn't be able to copyright it. HoloSync, hem exercise, meditation, binaural beats. See, and I don't know, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Because I know about binaural beats. I make them. But while I enjoy listening to them and they give me a sort of like feeling when I listen to them, like, I enjoy it. It's like a head massage. It's meditative. I don't know if it's actually really scientifically doing anything. I just like the sound of it. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's entirely binaural. It's not binaural. It's not. I mean, it's got some binaural quality to it, maybe the binaural beats, but when I'm talking about binaural, I'm saying that what you have to have is a dummy head. I'll use my own video. So this is a funny video that I made because lots of people were doing ASMR videos and they were labeling them as binaural, and they were not binaural, they were stereo. You obviously know what stereo is. You have two microphones left and right. But the feature of binaural that's so interesting to me is that it replicates exactly how... So when I'm whispering to you here, I went from one side to the other, and it wasn't stereo. I actually went behind your head. Like, and the reason this works is because I've made a dummy head. I've put microphones in her head. And I know it looks stupid. I deliberately made it look stupid for a funny video. But you buy them on the internet and they're thousands of pounds. But I buy little bits from like these... Look at how old Amazon is there. Bought these ears because I wanted proper ears on her. And she's cheap and cheerful, but she does exactly the same job as a binaural dummy head. And what happens is while I'm talking to you, I move around your head space. There's head phase space. So... one ear doesn't hear the same as the other. I mean, just that makes sense, doesn't it, what I'm saying? One ear doesn't hear the same as... This is so funny to me now when I look at this, because I did all this, like, that's tiny. Why do they always give me such fucking stupid tiny images? Open image in a new tab. Like these people doing this in their labs. That binaural dummy head there, that's the same as what I made for, like... I made mine for $100. That's about $6,000 worth of equipment. But your head, some of the sound doesn't get through your head when it goes to this ear. When you've got two microphones, I can put them, I can move them anywhere. The sound goes from, the sound that gets into one gets into the other because there's nothing in between. You have to have head phase space going on. You have to have this as part of your microphone. And the best way to do it is just to make a dummy head. It's just to have an actual head. Probably the right density of material would be a good idea. So you can make really expensive ones, and there's another one, that's £500. They're getting cheaper these days, but that's £500. And the one I made was less than that, obviously. But it works even better than theirs, because the money I saved on a head, because I just used an old hairdresser's dummy, the money I saved on a head, I spent on microphones, and got some quite nice pencil condenser microphones. So those pencil condenser microphones do quite a good job. And then I made these videos where... So some people label their stuff as binaural because it's got binaural beats, or because they think stereo is binaural. A lot of ASMR artists will do ear-to-ear whispering and call it binaural because you've got two ears. So no, an ASMR binaural experience is hearing the world as if you were really there because of that headspace.
Hey truck, how are those Duracell Optimum batteries working out?
Jesus, would you leave me alone with your adverts? Do you know... I'd have to have adverts on my videos even though I didn't monetize the content. Motherfuckers. Anyway. So if you've got headphones on, what this will sound like is just stereo, just normal. Nothing special here. Nothing special here, but doesn't a car go past at some point? Don't I have a track to go past? No, I go past. I need things going past the camera to prove my point. Maybe this is a bad example. Here's me walking past. I probably don't make enough noise. I've got my big jumper on. It sounds like you're really there though. That was a terrible example. I need binaural sound. People walking past and stuff. I mean, maybe this one counts.
We'll leave you to it if it's recorded.
You can see it on the video if you want.
Okay.
On the internet, sorry, on YouTube.
Okay, we will look.
Just look at my Facebook and do that, yeah.
Why is it wobbling?
It does, it wobbles.
Oh, so
Which is no good for
recording? You're recording noise.
So you can hear people talking like it's stereo, but it's not. If you were to close your eyes, you really feel like you're there because it's binaurally recorded. That's the truth of the matter. And Heather Feather, let's just put Heather Feather. This, I've got to be able to find it now, you chuffer. Videos, sort by, it won't be the most popular, will it? I bet it won't. Great. How are you going to find it? This one. Sound slice, binaural, ska, the origin of ska. This was like, you know, I watched this, it. There's no video. But she's doing the binaural sound thing in your ears and talking and explaining the binaural, and I'm like, wow, this was fucking awesome. I want to do some of this. So I reference her video as well every time because that is a really good example of it. She walks around, she talks about the fridge, and like if you've got your eyes closed, you're there.
That's how puffy I feel because of all the clothes.
And you can't do that with stereo, you just can't. And it stands out when you've heard enough of this, what's stereo and what's not. But that was a cool video, that Holosphere, and I'm sure they've probably done some more binaural, maybe that particular one, you know, maybe that particular one I just put up then wasn't the right one, but it was cool, like sound layering. I'm into that as well. Actually, I should bring that in, shouldn't I? Where am I now? If I just go here, True Binaural ASMR, and again, it's my least popular videos. Sort by least popular, can I? No? Alright, oldest then. My least popular videos. These, I've got no video to them, but they are layered binaural sounds. So, it's also been through, delay and reverb in the sound processing. But it's originally recorded binaurally with the big binaural beat behind it. So it's a layering of all that. So yeah, you can go and listen to those if you want, if you're into that, because I've been there, done that. I've got the t-shirt. I didn't do the. Should have put loads of trippy visuals on it, but you know. Anyway, got an ASMR channel. Been. I know about that. Yeah, I know about that. I'm into that. It's weird, isn't it? Do you know what's funny? I find so funny about these sort of things is someone might say something in chat, and it's happened twice today where I am maybe not, like when you're saying you believe in, you're a globe denier. I'm like, well, that's a bit out there. But when someone says to me, what do you mean binaural beats? And I explain it, they think that's a bit out there. We've got lots of things in common. But I feel like, I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but I feel like sometimes we've got things in common, but some of the people in chat that I see, some of the people in the Febs world or the, you know, not the Febs world or anywhere, like sometimes I see them and they take it like a few steps further than I ever have. And I think, wow, I like binaural beats. I was interested in them, but I don't think they can change my energy waves in my brain. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like another step. And that's similar to like the space thing, isn't it? It's like similar to lots of these things. Like, we start on a very similar position, and then some people seem to take things quite far. And I start to go, whoa, hold on, hold on. I don't know about that. That's the way I feel about that today. But I'm glad that we covered that. Uncontrolled historian. You can have a little look at that, and I'm sure that I'm not exactly on the same tip as some of those videos that you suggested to me then, because what was it? And I need to go back now and do an analysis on Neil Armstrong and look at Werner von Braun. That's my homework. But it's interesting that we've got those similarities, and that's why I find this stuff really fun. Like talking about is space fake. I'm not here like Simon Dan to be like, oh, you chuffing idiots, you fucking chuffing idiots. I'll tell you what I think. You tell me what you think in the comments. You always do. So I'm happy with that as a you know, free-form conversation. We're not going to come to any. You're not going to believe everything I say. I'm not going to believe everything you say. We shouldn't. We both agree that we shouldn't. We shouldn't take these things for granted. So we both agree with that. So it's good that we have these chats. There we go, huh? There we go. I'm not trying to come and piddle on anyone's bonfire. I'm trying to maybe offer some ideas that might make people think differently when they're questioning the narrative. Hopefully they take some of those ideas in and question those ideas as well, whether they're valid or not. Maybe we get somewhere, maybe we don't. I don't know. The big point to make now is that, right, it's 2 hours 45 minutes. It's time for me to knock this on the old head. We are going to be back tomorrow with Words on Stream, where we're giving some money to charity if you can make it to level 10. And I'm sure you can, because you've a load of smart chuffers. And some of the things that get said in chat are so smart that I have to write them down and come back later after I've done some homework. So you be good, my little puckos. It's always good having you here. And I will see you anon. Remember, if you can't be good, you're naughty.